Guys, thank you very much indeed. Yes, a very good afternoon to you. If June was all about the football and one Wales game after another, well, July is rugby month. And, well, it doesn't get much tougher, does it, than a trip to South Africa to face the current world champions. It's the first test and the biggest test in world rugby right now. Welcome to the show.
Your team for Welsh sport.
This is BBC Radio Wales Sport.
Yes, what could possibly go wrong? Well, almost everything went wrong in the Six Nations, didn't it? And Wales have been waiting nearly 4 months to get this out of the system.
Capuazzo into space. Oh, he's rammed the last man. Capuazzo for the corner. The inside ball to Padovani, who scores. Rammed underneath the post. Italy celebrates. They're dancing with joy. They have made history with a last-minute smash and grab. Their first win ever in Cardiff.
Yep, that really did happen. A depressing year for Welsh rugby all in all. So how to restore the faith of fed-up fans? Well, a win over the world champions might just help a bit.
Colby is streaking down the touchline and he's sewn up Farrell. Cheslin Colby wins the World Cup for South Africa. Khaleesi is mobbed by his teammates. South Africa have destroyed England in Yokohama, and it's going to be another day for the annals for South African rugby.
Well, it's play 10, lost 10 for Wales on South African soil, but they were agonisingly close against the Springboks in Cardiff last autumn.
Wales have to try and stop that drive somehow, but it is a wave of green heading for the Welsh line, and South Africa finally get the first try of the game in the 73rd minute. It could be heartbreak for Wales.
Well, they've been written off as no-hopers on tour this summer, but Wayne Pivac wants a win to end sleepless nights and boost World Cup dreams.
It is a massive challenge, world champions in their backyard too at altitude. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a good test for us. It's going to show us exactly where we are. They're going to expose some weaknesses on the shore, and it'll give us a lot to work on going forward.
This is BBC Radio Wales Sport.
With Ian Hunt.
Yes, can Wales boost their World Cup hopes with a shock series win over the current best team on the planet? Good afternoon to you and welcome to a summer of Test Match Rugby here on BBC Radio Wales and Radio Wales Extra via BBC Sounds, our new streaming service, and you can listen as well via BBC Sport Online. Loads of ways to enjoy the big matches this summer. You don't have to be stuck to a radio. You can listen on the go with your mobile or tablets. And, well, it's one of the final frontiers for Welsh rugby, isn't it? Winning on South African soil. The British and Irish Lions couldn't do it last summer. None of the regions managed to win there during the league season. So can Wales do it this year on the back of a poor Six Nations when they finished fifth? There's been a lot of doom and gloom around, hasn't there? But we are going to try and be positive and optimistic, at least at the start of the programme. We'll see how the afternoon goes as regards that. But we've got two former Wales internationals with us who would be positive and optimistic, I'm sure, in a Force 9 gale. James Hook and Ian Goff, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Ian.
If there was a hurricane, you'd still put a tent up, I'm sure. How are you? Looking forward to this?
I am looking forward to it. Yeah, as you said, it's going to be very tough. You know, you just mentioned, Ian, how the region struggled out in South Africa in particular throughout the season. Obviously a difficult Six Nations, but I'm sure there was a few tough conversations after that Italy game, and it's just about the boys getting back out on the pitch and putting a few wrongs to right, and there's no better place than out in South Africa against the world champions.
Watching those players warming up in the sunshine. What a bit of sunshine in Pretoria at the moment. Some clouds surround as well, but they're doing their pre-match drills, the Wales players. And well, it kind of feels like Welsh rugby's been sort of beating itself up, doesn't it, ever since the Six Nations, with all sorts of negative headlines and calls for change, theories on what's going wrong and so on. But this is a chance to try and put a smile back on the faces of the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good thing about rugby, isn't it? You get back on that stage and you prove yourself, and off you go. My first cap was out here in '98, and I don't even want to say what the score was that day, but mine and Stephen Jones's.
What was it, Goffy?
So, oh, come on, I said I didn't want to say. 96-13, and that was a very, very dark day. Still, I think it's still the record loss in Welsh history books, so they're not going to do as bad as I did that day, me and Stephen. But again, this is a chance to prove things right. You know, it's a decent side there. They're up against formidable opposition, so they know the challenge they got. off they go, get on that stage and prove things right. It's a tough ask, but you're 23 against 23.
I love it when our guests bring up their own record against South Africa and their own experiences. It saves me from doing it. That was the tour of hell, wasn't it, in '98?
Oh yeah, we always think on the bus there was lots of dropouts. It was a tough. I think it was a 5 or 6 match tour. I think we played Zimbabwe to start with, and it ended up, we were so many players down by the end, as well as the players that didn't come out with us to start with. It was a real hiding against nothing. But again, you've got a quality side out there. You've got a quality Welsh side. It's just gelling and playing the right way and clicking and winning enough ball to do something with is the big thing today for me.
You did get some redemption in Cardiff a year later, didn't you? Let's be honest, in 1999.
That's right, Mark Taylor, and I think that was the end of Gary Teichmann, and he came across after that because he got sacked as coach. I think Nick Mallett got as captain. Sorry, Nick Mallett got sacked as coach. And we went from there. But again, but it was a good day. I enjoyed it because it was my first cap, and then once the tears sort of once they
faded away,
faded away, it was all good.
Well, let's bring us back to 2022 and Gareth Rees-Owen sandwiched in between James and Ian. Good afternoon, Gareth. Ian talked there about the strong side that Wales have got out there. Do you want to run us through it?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting and looking at the team, because on paper it's relatively strong, with a very strong bench in terms of experience for Wales. So the team is at fullback Liam Williams, Lewis Rees-Zammit and Josh Adams on the wing. George North returns wearing 13 alongside Nick Tompkins. Biggar and Kieran Hardy has been given the nod at scrum half. A relatively inexperienced front row of Gareth Thomas, Ryan Elias, Dylan Lewis, but I'll give you the bench to see that there is some power to come on from them. Will Rowlands and Adam Beard at lock. Dan Lydiate, Talupe Faletau and Tommy Reffel, a man who will be making his first appearance for Wales out in Pretoria this afternoon. And then on the bench, as I touched upon, there is experience, Dewi Lake and Rhys Carey, but then there's Francis, Alun Jones, Josh Navidi, Thomas Williams, Gareth Anscombe, Owen Watkin. Most of those possibly should have been started and would have done in different circumstances.
What catches your eye, James? Because, Tommy Reffel, that's going to be interesting debut for him, but your eye is drawn to the bench as well. What a bench that is.
Yeah, as Gar just said, there's probably a couple on that bench that can feel a little bit unlucky not to be starting. The first one that sort of stuck out for me was Josh Navidi. I thought, he would certainly be starting, but they've gone for, obviously, Talupe Faletau. Reffel, which, is in there because of his form. Wayne Pivac said a few weeks back that he's the form number 7 of Welsh heritage, so he's obviously going to start, and Dan Lydiate's in at 6, so hopefully they can complement each other. But I thought Navidi would have started. Thomas Williams I thought probably would have started, so Kieran Hardy's in there. He'd probably inject a little bit of tempo, I suppose.
Yeah, but let's look at this backwards in a strange way. We've focused on the bench, and then you just turn your eyes to the South African bench and the front row of Malcolm Marx, Stephen Kitchell and Vincent Koch, who arguably are 3 of the best front rowers in the world coming off the bench. And then there's youth in Elach Lowe, who's been incredible in the URC, and I haven't even gone through the starting 15 yet, Ian. It's so stacked, this South African 23.
Yeah, your challenge then. If you're playing against, sometimes you can be undercooked. Maybe against Italy, it was undercooked, and you took it a bit for granted. But you look at this team sheet, and you can't take that for granted. And I think the front row today, the Welsh front row, have got a real battle on their hands. And then the daunting thought of the boys that are coming on as well. So I'm guessing that's why they've loaded the bench the way they have. But again, it's a fantastic look inside. You're in their backyard. You're at altitude. A 3-match series. You've got to be on edge, and you can't make mistakes. You can't give them an inch, because you could be on the end of a walloping. So it's a daunting task, but that sharpens you up at times as well.
Yeah, and you've named those players, and you haven't even mentioned Peter Steph de Toit and Dwayne Van Meulen, who were injured and not involved in the squad. So incredible squad to choose from.
So it's Cape Town on July the 16th, Bloemfontein next weekend, but it starts today in Pretoria. And, you'll remember if you watched last year's Lions matches on the TV, there were empty stadiums in South Africa because of the COVID restrictions. And so these matches, the first time the Springboks have played in front of full crowds on home soil since 2019, before they won the World Cup. And we're looking at just under 52,000 fans there at Loftus Versfeld this afternoon. We can talk to Gareth Griffiths, who I think is pitchside for us. Good afternoon to you, Gareth. Just describe the atmosphere there for us.
Afternoon, and it's very, very lively here. I've seen some atmospheres in World Rugby, but this is almost another level. They've been waiting for this for 3 years, as you say, and you can just all the way around the ground. We arrived here 3-4 hours early, and there were people on the roads. They were having braais. There were Springboks jerseys in their thousands already before the match was even close to being started. So it's very lively. It's going to be a very hostile atmosphere for the Welsh players tonight.
And the captain, Khaleesi, it was interesting, Gareth, hearing him talking about wanting to make the nation proud. As I said, they've not played a test in front of a full crowd since before the World Cup.
Yes, exactly. They've been waiting 3 years since they won that World Cup in 2019 in Japan. They've been waiting for this moment, and they really do not want to let their fans down. They are really fired up for this. You can sense that, not just with the team itself. You can speak to people around, and they've been waiting for this moment to come out, to be able to celebrate what the team did 3 years ago. And obviously, they've had the hard COVID lockdown since then. You had the Lions series last year, which was played behind closed doors with no fans. And this is a chance for them to really mark that World Cup success, even if it is almost 3 years on.
Yeah, and you know, we've heard from quite a few sort of journalists writing Wales off over the last few weeks going into this series. Interesting also hearing Khaleesi talking about Wales and, in his view, being where they were, the Springboks, in 2018 when they started building something. A year later, they actually won the World Cup.
Yeah, he was speaking yesterday about being 7th in the world and everyone trying to chase that top place, which they obviously achieved out in Japan. Now, Wales are 9th in the world. They've had a poor Six Nations tournament, only won one game, lost against Italy. So South Africa, publicly at least, are very, very wounded, and believe Wales are wounded and will come here and have a point to prove. But South Africa, I can't emphasise enough how much they'll have their home backing today.
OK, Gareth, thank you very much indeed. There have already been 2 wins for Southern Hemisphere sides over Northern opponents today. You might have watched earlier on England beaten by 14-man Australia in Perth, and a fair amount of criticism coming Eddie Jones's way, despite what was a narrow 2-point defeat for England there. And meanwhile, a ruthless New Zealand side scoring 6 tries as they hammered Ireland in Auckland. Scotland play the first of their 3 tests in Argentina this evening. So it's a huge day of international rugby, and this match, South Africa-Wales, coming up live at 4:05 here on Radio Wales Medium Wave, Radio Wales Extra via BBC Sounds, and also you can listen online via the BBC Sport website. More to come then from Ian Goff, Gareth Rhys-Owen and James Hook, but let's hear from the man who keeps the Wales captaincy from the Six Nations, even with Alan Wynne-Jones back on the scene, but on the bench this afternoon. Dan Biggar on the mountain Wales must climb to win a match or even the series over the next 3 weeks.
We know the challenge that lies await on Saturday. It's probably up there with the biggest challenges in world rugby, playing the world champions, the #1 ranked team in their own backyard at altitude in front of 50,000 sort of Springbok supporters. So it's about as tough as it gets. But what the squad have done, and off the back of a disappointing end of the Six Nations, is we've sort of really come together and just said that this is almost like a fresh start now in terms of a clean slate, wipe everything behind and just go out there with a bit of freedom and really express ourselves. And because if we listen to everything that's being reported, if we listen to everything in the media, to fans, to pundits, to everyone, we may as well not turn up. We may as well just have 3 weeks on holiday here. So from our point of view, it'll show a lot of character about us on Saturday, and I'm hoping that can shine through.
Wales have to try and stop that drive somehow, but it is a wave of green heading for the Welsh line, and South Africa finally get the first try of the game in the 73rd minute. It could be heartbreak for Wales.
There's no fear involved. There's absolutely no fear, but I think it's good to be nervous, because if you're not nervous, you take things a little bit lax, and you don't quite get it right, or you're not quite mentally prepared on Saturday. If you're not quite mentally prepared on Saturday, it's about as bad a place as you could be. So, and sometimes as well, I found this over the course of the career, is when you've got young guys coming in who perhaps haven't played here before or experienced what it's like to play against this side. You have nothing to compare it to, and you have no fear in it, because you haven't faced it. You don't know what it's about, and I think that's a really good thing for us as a squad. There's a lot of boys who haven't experienced it and are just chomping at the bit to go out and get stuck into what is a world class, 15 or 23, which the Springboks have made. So from that point of view, I think it's a good mix of experience in the squad who've been there, experienced this country and this team, played against this team before, and a mix of boys who sort of haven't faced it and have almost got no fear in that, because they just want to get stuck in and build a reputation for themselves and just get stuck into a pretty good side.
Hendricks wasn't put in touch. What a tackle! What a tackle by Liam Williams. He banged him into touch in the corner. They've gone to the TMO. It's that close. And Steve Walsh is going underneath the post. It's a penalty try. And with 90 seconds remaining, South Africa go ahead by a point. It could not be crueler on Wales. It's daylight robbery in Nelspruit.
2014, where we very nearly got the job done in the second test, just couldn't get it over the line. But it's been great. It's been brilliant to come back here. In fairness, the country, the hospitality we received. Obviously, a few of us were here last year when it was very different in terms of stuck in a hotel for basically 23 hours of the day, really, in terms of an hour out for training, and it was really tough work. But it's been great to be able to sort of go over to the casino, go out and about. A few of us went across to the Lion and the Safari Park yesterday, and a bit of golf on Sunday. So it's just been great to be back touring as well, and there's not many better countries to tour than here, so we're lucky in that, and we're just trying to enjoy ourselves as much as possible, not put too much pressure on ourselves, and hopefully that'll help us on Saturday afternoon.
And the players will be remembering Phil Bennett on the weekend, black armbands. Just how important is that? A former Wales fly-half and captain.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's I think we've spoken. There's not many more words you can say about Phil. I think it's up to us to put in a performance to honour Phil as well. All the words have been spoken about Phil, a true great, and again, pass the condolences on from the squad to his family. But we're hoping that with that performance, we can put a bit of pride back for him as well.
Yeah, Phil Bennett, he knew a thing or two, didn't he, about winning in South Africa. This is where he produced one of his best performances, of course, in 1974 to lead the Lions to a famous series win. And they're going to be wearing black armbands in memory of Phil this afternoon. He, of course, died aged 73 last month, and a minute's silence as well before kick-off as they aim to honour Phil's memory with another famous win in Pretoria. The players still warming up at the moment. They'll be back in the changing rooms very shortly and back out in about 10 minutes' time ahead of kick-off at 4:05 here on BBC Radio Wales. James Hook, Ian Goff and Gareth Rousseau in your commentary team for test number 1. And let's talk in a little bit more detail then about the challenge and the team that Wales have picked, James. First of all, do you think that this is, as Dan Biggar and Wayne Pivac have said, is the biggest challenge in world rugby right now away to the Springboks, even bigger than facing the All Blacks?
The All Blacks is pretty challenging as well, I tell you that now. But this is, right up there. As we've mentioned, the crowd, 52,000 at altitude. The world champions. Yeah, it's going to be a tough test. But I think for Wales, there's no expectation from supporters and the media. But there will be in camp. There'll be a lot of expectation in camp. But I think, all the hype around South Africa, world champions, altitude, all these sort of things we've spoken about. I don't think Wales can wait and sit back and wait for these things to come to them in the first test. They've got to fire some shots from the start. And as Gareth mentioned at the start, it's a pretty good team Wales have picked, particularly looking at that back line. There's a lot of players there that can do some damage. But as you know, against South Africa, you've got to match them physically. Up front, scrum, maul, kicking game in particular as well. We've got to match them, and then hopefully these boys, particularly in the back three, Josh Adams, Liam Williams, Zammit, get the ball in their hands and hopefully can cause South Africa some trouble.
Because you know how hard it is to play the Springbok. We mentioned Ian playing in that game in '98, the Tour of Hell, that heavy 96-13 defeat. We didn't mention your record, which was what? Played
10, lost 10,
which is Wales' record in South Africa.
Yeah.
So what is it about going there that's so daunting?
You know what you're going to get with South Africa. As you say, they're physical. You watched the Lions series last summer. They're going to kick the ball heck of a lot, and they're going to try and out scrum you, out maul you, and basically, be the more physical team, which more often than not are. So Wales know what's coming. They just got to match that, and it all starts up front. I know rugby, pretty much most games start up front, but in particular against South Africa, Goff will know more than anyone. It certainly does.
Yeah, you've got the front row, and I come back to it all the time. The game evolves, but this part doesn't. And Gareth Thomas, Ryan Elias, Dylan Lewis, they've got such a huge job on their hands there, because if they don't get at least parity, if they don't, at least hold their own, then you've got a good-looking back line. You've got good players right through their side, but you just don't get any ball. And you try to fire shots when you're hanging on the ropes. It is a tough ask, especially when you're way at altitude. Everything that's been mentioned. So they've got such a huge game on their hands. That's the cornerstone of the Welsh game.
There's almost a kind of, Gareth, a vintage tinge to the team in a way, with the likes of Dan Lydiate and George North coming back in after so long out injured, but also Tommy Reffell. Talk to us about him, the Leicester Tigers flanker. Just give our listeners a little bit more info about him and where he's come from and what he's all about.
He may well be off many people's radar. That doesn't mean that he's a complete and utter rookie and a novice. He's 23, and make no mistake about it, he's been outstanding in the Gallagher Premiership this season. He's combative, he's destructive, he's not the biggest of men, but he's an old school 7 who'll front up. He's facing Jasper Wiese, his teammate with Leicester Tigers, and he spoke this week glowingly about how physical Reffell is. He's the type of player you need in South Africa, along with Dan Lydiate, but I still think it's a big call not to pick Josh Navidi.
Yeah.
Because Josh Navidi has certain characteristics. He is not an Olivia Mania who can shine in the wide channels. He's not a Sevens rugby player. What he is physical in the contact. And this week, South African players have spoken publicly about the fact that they respect Navidi more than anybody else, and Pivac has gone for him as a bench option. He doesn't sit, to me, as a bench option. You know, what impact is he having coming off the bench?
Yeah, exactly. We spoke at the top of the show. You know, it was baffling, really. You know, when you're thinking of the team selection, particularly the back row, it's just where Josh Navidi's going to fit in. He can play right across the back row. It's just whether it's 6, 7 or 8. And to see him on the bench is, a little bit confusing, but I'm sure Pivac's got his reasons, and he will come on. We will see Josh Navidi in this game, and I'm sure he'll start, in 1 or 2 tests after this. But you look at George North and you talk about players like that, but the big sort of talking point for me is the front row. I think our front row, they've got to match South Africa in the scrum, but I think our front row we've got to start ball carrying as well. Look at the best teams in the world. The front rowers are ball carrying, and that's what Wales need to do more of.
Spend the next 10 minutes talking about the front row, couldn't we, before kick-off? I think the players are gradually making their way back into the changing rooms. They look happy, South Africa. They look confident. Back in front of their own fans after 3 years, just seeing a very smiley Faf de Klerk there, the scrum half for the Springboks. How good are they, do you think, Ian, at the moment, compared to that World Cup winning side 3 years ago?
They're good. They are good. They're strong. They're powerful. We've seen it in our league this year as well.
They didn't lay a finger on the regions, just didn't lay a finger on them, really, did they?
You go to Leinster and win and things like that, which not many people do, and it's, they just look like they've got those gears. They've got that cutting edge. And I think I was commenting on the Scarlet Stormers game, and the Scarlets opened the game up really well, but you could just see the talent and it was almost they reined in, and when they wanted to, bang, they cut loose, and they were hard to touch. And that's a scary prospect if you don't close them down enough. If you give them give them that extra inch of space, then all of a sudden they can cut loose. So it's a huge job that they've got in defence again, and set piece as well. Just to stop the damn break-in. But it can be done. It can be done. But it's going to take a Herculean effort to do it.
They're just a really patient team, and they stay in the arm wrestle. It's like a little game of chess, and then when they got a pounce, they got the likes of Colby and Dale Andy in the back line who can punish you. So Wales have got to be patient, and when they get their opportunities, they won't get a lot of opportunities, but Wales will get opportunities today. They've got to take them.
And we talk about the scrutiny there's been on Wayne Pivac and his players, and the pressure that he's under, or maybe under, depends who you talk to, really. I mean, would any win over the next 3 weeks be enough to convince his team and the sceptics, Gareth, that Wales can win the World Cup, as he said is the aim?
Right, I didn't think you'd finish that question by asking about the World Cup. I thought you were going to ask whether or not it would be good enough to keep his job.
Really? Is that what we're talking about?
Well,
if they don't get a win here,
if Wales get hammered in 3 tests in South Africa, having lost at home to Italy, to quote Jonathan Davis, who said losing at home to Italy, Jiffy, he said it's a sackable offence. There's grace for Wayne Pivac because he did win the Six Nations a season ago, but coming up to the World Cup, there's pressure on him. There's pressure on him. You can see, therefore, why he has brought Dan Lydiate back into the fold.
So he has to win a test.
There's definite pressure on Pivac, 100%. Yeah, and I think if they win a test out here, it'll definitely restore some pride in Pivac and the Welsh team for certain. Whether we win the World Cup,
if he wins a test out here, he's fine for the World Cup, isn't he?
Oh, 100%. I think so. Nobody's banking on Wales winning a test at all here. So we win a test, then Yeah, you definitely say so.
Well, let's hear from him, shall we? He has been kind of laying low, really, since the Six Nations. And struggling to sleep, actually, he said, after that loss to Italy. Helping him to wipe the slate clean today, as we've said. A few old faces back in the team to face the Springboks. And one brand new one in the shape of the Leicester Tigers flanker, Tommy Reffell.
Reffell trying to drive it on, an area that Wayne Pivot might keep an eye on for him in future weeks. Wingers were digging deep, and advantage now on the Leicester side as Burns digs the crowd ahead. Do Leicester get the ball down before the dead ball line? I think Tommy Reffell, with that broad smile, thinks he has done just that.
Look, we've been watching him for a while. He's been playing some really great rugby for Leicester Tigers, so form's a big thing. Also, he's been playing a lot of rugby recently, and a lot of our squad haven't. So when we've looked at the selection, we've obviously factored in the amount of rugby some players have or haven't had. So look, we're excited for him getting the opportunity. He's trained well, so he's looking forward to a special moment.
South Africa at Pretoria, it's baptism of fire for his first game, isn't it?
Yeah, but as I say, he's been playing in a pretty tough competition week in and week out, and I think he's proven himself now over time at that level, and now is we think the time to expose him, and he'll learn a lot, I'm sure.
On the other end, you've got Dan Lydiate and George North back, a lot of experience, they've been out for a long time. How important is that in this sort of game?
Yeah, pleased to see them both back in the environment. They bring a lot of leadership, they bring a lot of experience, obviously, and they have been missed in the environment. So, you know, a year's a long time to be out. They're both really, really excited. They're bringing a lot of energy to training, as you'd expect, and a lot of rugby knowledge. So we're looking forward to getting them both out on the park, and I'm sure they're going to enjoy the occasion as well.
Will Rowlands back in after being on the bench against Italy. Alan Wyn-Jones on the bench, a role he's not perhaps used to with Wales. Just to give us an idea of the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I think it's just where Al's come from, and I think he's building back into it really, really nicely. He's trained very, very well, and you've got to look at the South African side that we're going to face, the 6-2 split as we expected. They're going to be coming at us over the 80 minutes, and you know we're going to have a lot of experience if you look at our bench to finish the game. So you know we've looked long and hard at who we start and who finishes the game, and we think the balance on this occasion is the right one.
3 tests in South Africa. Is it dawned on you now what that's going to be like?
Oh, look, I think everybody knows what you're coming to. You've got this rich history. We're playing, a lot's made of, you know, playing at altitude. For us, it's exciting. We're relishing the opportunity because we haven't had a summer tour away as a group, so we haven't had that sort of touring feeling, if you like. And if the first week's anything to go by, the boys are really enjoying it. They're enjoying being in a different climate. And so, look, it is a massive challenge. World champions in their backyard too at altitude. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a good test for us. It's going to show us exactly where we are. They're going to expose some weaknesses, I'm sure, and it'll give us a lot to work on going forward.
Well, it's been a long wait, hasn't it, since the defeat to Italy in the Six Nations, but it's almost time for Wales to get back out there and face the world champions in their own backyard. It is around about 16 degrees in Pretoria, not too warm then for the players. It's a packed Loftus Versfeld, and seeing a few Wales fans just sat in the stands there with woolly hats on and coats. So it won't be too hot for them. James Hook and Ian Goff, final word before the players come out there. And well, you didn't hear it in that package there from Wayne Pivot, but when he talks about sleepless nights over the last few months since Italy, you can see what impact it has on coaches behind the scenes, putting a brave face on things, but pressure on him. Has to get a win over the next few weeks. Can he get a win?
Yeah, I think a win is possible. A win is possible. It's a big ask, but a win is possible. But I'd even go as far as saying we get within 10-15 points of them in these 3 tests, and that is almost that sounds very negative, I know, but it's just the challenge that they got out there. But that would be perceived as being a bit of a victory. But I think we can pinch a win. It's how we start. We've always been slow starters, and he alluded to the amount of rugby the boys have had lately, and it's getting up to that level. It's getting up to that absolute edge and level that South Africa are going to bring to the game, and that's a tough ask this first test. So it's a big challenge on the back of this today. So yeah, the pressure's on him. And we need a performance, definitely.
And what a place to go and play a summer series. I mean, look at the scenes there. It looks fantastic, James. I mean, they should be inspired by this.
Exactly, and what a place to restore a bit of pride as well, I think. And as I said a little bit earlier, Wales have got to go out there. It's a daunting task, some world-class players in that South African team. But go out there, fire some shots, and show what a talented bunch of players we are.
And the leaders in that team, we've talked a lot about Dan Biggar, of course, who was the Lions 10 in all 3 tests in South Africa last summer when he scored, 23 points in that series, leading Wales again this afternoon, and so much on the bench as well if Wales need it. so much talent to come off, isn't there?
Go, sorry, say that again.
So much talent on the bench. We talk about the power of that bench. You know, if Wales need it, they've got the replacements there.
Do you know what, it is a good-looking bench. But my own worry is, you know, we're hoping that, you know, the game is still within reach when that bench comes on, and that is the big sort of question about it. But as I'm looking through it, it's a mouth-watering. Even though Dewi Lake is low on caps as such, and Carey, you know, they're big men, big powerful men, and they're playing with a bit of confidence. And Tom Francis, obviously 60-odd caps to his name as well. So yeah, it is. Alan Wynne as well. You can't get much more experience on a bench than Alan Wynne and Josh Navidi as well. So yeah, we're just hoping we're still in contact by the time, you know, the 50-60 minute mark, that they can come on. Otherwise it just might be blown in the wind.
Well, there's a smile on Dan Biggar's face as he leads those track-suited Wales players to the mouth of the tunnel there at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria, the first test here on BBC Radio Wales. It's been a long time between drinks, that's how Wayne Pivac put it yesterday. 105 days to be precise since that defeat to Italy in the Six Nations. It is time to go back to the well, and they're going to need to dig deep over the next 3 weeks. It is South Africa, the world champions, against Wales here on Radio Wales and Radio Wales Extra. Your commentary team is Ian Gough and James Hook, the former Wales internationals, alongside Gareth Rhys-Owen.
And Dan Biggar has led his side out onto the field at Loftus Versfeld, one of the grounds of international rugby, and a ground that will be red hot this afternoon because they've waited a long time in South Africa to celebrate the World Cup victory. Not had one chance yet to fill the stadium due to COVID restrictions since that triumph back in 2019, and the anticipation at the Loftus Versfeld is building as the players will shortly enter the field of play. Wales have never won in South Africa. They have an average scoreline out there of 42 points to 16 defeats. All their victories have come on home soil, and this in Pretoria, the scene of the darkest day in Welsh rugby history. 96 points conceded that afternoon. Few were predicting another cricket scoreline, but let's not beat about the bush. Even fewer are predicting a Welsh victory this afternoon. Wales, up until recent memory, had an outstanding record against South Africa. 4 on the bounce, but since Siya Kolisi, who leads his side out onto the field, lifted the World Cup, it's been 2 matches, 2 wins for South Africa. Pretoria welcomes home their heroes. The place is on fire. Kolisi means business, and this is such a daunting task for any side, in particular Ian Gough, a team that has just lost to Italy at home in the Six Nations.
That's for sure, but what a way to bounce back. You know, you can see the confidence of the crowd. You can see they're turning up for the party, and you know, they're relishing it. They haven't been in the stands in South Africa because of restrictions, and now they get to watch their team come out and play. But that can be quelled, you know, that fire can be put out, and this first 20 minutes is huge. You put that fire out, you silence that crowd a little bit, you get South Africa asking questions. Hang on, there's another team involved here. This isn't just a run out for us. And what can happen in that game, but it's all how we start this game.
Shortly we'll be waiting for the anthems, but we do expect a moment's silence in due course to remember the man who dazzled on this field, the great Phil Bennett. Phil Bennett. He was outstanding on this test match venue back in 1974. Man will be remembered for his remarkable ability. His memory will live on forever as being a great person. Now it's time for the anthems.
My hand was
Credit to Salim Kagi, who's absolutely nailed the pronunciation in that anthem, much better than many a Welshman.
Please remain standing for the singing of the South African national anthem, sung by Singapore very
This should be very special. 3 years wait for Capacity Stadium. That was rather special. Siya Kolisi, eyes closed, singing at full voice. He just looked skywards to appreciate and recognise the moment. 52,000 Springbok supporters are ready. The Springboks are surely ready. And what a test this will be for Wayne Pivac's squad. Pretoria, first test of a 3-test tour. Can they overturn the odds, defy the critics, and lift the pressure off their coach? South Africa are up for it, aren't they, James?
If there was ever any doubt South Africa are up for this game, you just have to watch the way Siya Kolisi sprinted out of the tunnel. I thought he was going to run out the other side of the stadium, and the way he sang the anthem. You know, this is going to be a massive test and a massive challenge for Wales.
Yeah, this is you know, that last minute hook here. You remember that? You know, I know we haven't been retired. You haven't been retired too long, but just this last minute before the kick-off, that nerves are still rattling in. You're still trying to get that last little bit nailed.
It's the last minute commercial break pause. That's what it is. They've got to have to wait because the TV channel has gone for that 1 minute ad break. So, you know, this is something now the players, Tommy Reffel, for example, will have to deal with.
Yeah. That's interesting, because this is where, when Sean Edwards was there, they'd have the minute of tackling just to build up before the kick-off. But, yeah, the boys just want to get on with it now. The wait is over. Just want to climb into the South Africans.
That whistle, they say, you've done all your training, you've done all your prep. You know, let's just get that ball in the air and get the first shot in.
The South Africans, unsurprisingly, are ginormous. None bigger than the bare-tighted Frans Malherbe. Possibly the best technical scrummager in the game. The pack is huge. But Wales, with the likes of Will Rowlands, Adam Beard, Dan Lydiate, have the bulk and the size. But the challenge is enormous. We're underway in Pretoria. First touch in his own 22 for the great Taulupe Faletau. And if Wales want to succeed this afternoon, he certainly needs to play to the best of his ability. First kick, Kieran Hardy. Box kick. Gives it some air. Dropped and knocked on. First touch by Franco Mostert. And Wales have unexpected possession. Dan Biggar caught in two minds in his own half. And Wales have sort of wasted this possession. De Klerk flies up the line. Still Wales possession, but they've lost 10 metres. Josh Adams. Nick Tompkins is still down on the fort, having been brushed aside. Gareth Thomas. Now the first choice, Wales loose head. Up to the halfway line. Wales have gone through 5 phases and Hardy looks set to kick. First one worked well for him. First minute of the game. No score yet. Tester and Willemse. Willemse was clipped in the air.
Just out of position.
And that slight touch meant that he couldn't catch the ball and Wales are penalised.
Yeah, against Faletau, no real malice in it, just caught him in the air and just relieved a bit of pressure for South Africa. But like you say, good early pressure from Hardy. High kick, we're going to see a lot of that this afternoon. A lot of box kicks, putting pressure on the back three. And as I say, a bit of pressure relieved there for South Africa. Takes South Africa up to Wales' 22.
At the Yankees, goes to the corner.
How did you? This one. Thank you.
You'd say the Springboks are more or less at full strength. Few missing in the back row. Andre Pollard only arrived with the squad on Sunday, so Yankees has given the nod despite Pollard being the regular first choice. Ball lost in the line out, stolen by Hardy. Hardy to Will Rowlands over the halfway line. Wales having good early possession. Gareth Thomas flies into the ruck, but Wales are away. Tompkins, George North in space as he likes it. Overlap on the far side. This is the man who we want to see with ball in hand. Lewis Rees-Zammit! Oh yes! What a start for Wales! Lewis Rees-Zammit had 40 metres, but nobody could stop him. And the Springboks are shell-shocked in Pretoria.
Now that's the opening you want. That's a stolen line out, and they Will Rowlands has carted up the field, and they've just used the numbers. They just simply threw the hands there and released him. That's a great try.
Yeah, just 2 unforced errors from South Africa early on. One drop ball from a box kick, and as you say there, Goffey, another error from a line out. And this is what we said before the game. Wales are going to get opportunities. They have to take every single one of them. That's their first opportunity. Zammit, ball in hand, try.
It was exactly how Wales need to start this game. As I said, they need to quell the fire of this South African support, the party that they want to bring to this, their first game with fans in these stadiums, and it's exactly the way to open it. I know it's only 3 minutes gone, and I think we were ahead in 98 at one point, but that is exactly the way. You've got to back it up. They forced South Africa into mistakes, and they've been very clinical.
Where was the full back in the cover tackle there, James? Because there was a walk-in.
Because it's from a turnover, he's obviously thinking South Africa are going to attack, and then obviously he's not in position quick enough, and someone of Zammit's pace, you're never going to get back and cover him.
And Lukhanyo Am tried his very best, but with Lewis Rees-Zammit's pace, I wouldn't say it was a walk-in because he had 40 metres to go, but there was no competition, was there?
Out and out pace, and that's the sort of player you want with ball in hand out in South Africa. Not many faster than him in World Rugby.
Perfect start. Dan Biggar missed the conversion, so it's 5-0. Restart is deep to Faletau again. Ball in one hand into Colby. And now sets it back.
And use now 9.
Hardy. His third kick of the opening 4 minutes. This time he goes for distance. Keeps it alive. on the 10-yard line. Valemsa playing fullback and play 10, 12 and 13. Takes it up to the 10-yard line. Lutuyage adds his weight to the tackle area. Springbok with the first period of possession. We've played 4 minutes. Up into the air goes Yankees to test Liam Williams. Williams waits for an age, and as always, so comfortable under the high ball. But then South Africa compete to the deck. It's still Wales ball. 5 metres in from the far touchline, just outside their own 22. Gareth Thomas, good, strong carry from him. Broke the first tackle. Gives Kieran Hardy a little bit of rest, a little bit of leeway, and he'll go for the kick here. Hardy. Good chase by Lewis Rees-Zammit. South Africa have possession down the short side. Goes to Kirk, but it's not the best passes. And it's Wales possession, and the Springboks are rattled.
Yeah, and forced error again there, wasn't it? I think it was an obstruction, was it? And a turnover again. But yeah, they're not having their own way. This, Khaleesi and de Klerk just got in each other's way. Just a little bit of a lack of timing, and that's all it can take. A little bit of knowing what your right hand's doing, what your left and right hand's doing. And again, they are rattled. It has stunted the crowd again. It's only 5 minutes gone, but exactly the start we needed.
Front ball, no competition from South Africa, so Wales are away. Crossfield kick from Biggar to Josh Adams, who had to just check a little bit, went for the kick, charged down by Valemsa. Valemsa went to grab it, and Josh Adams was pulling him back, but it went off Valemsa's hands over the touchline. So it's take 2 for Wales, because they'll get a line out in the exact same position on the field, but on the other side of the pitch.
Yeah, trying something a little bit different, Dan Biggar, but still that kicking mentality, and it's going according to plan. We knew there was going to be a lot of kicking, and we knew Wales were going to keep the ball on the pitch to keep it away from South Africa's set piece. I suppose the question is, can Wales keep this tempo up come 50-60 minutes of the game?
Well, they're up by 5 points to 0, mirroring Ireland's start in New Zealand earlier today. They started so well, did the Irish. Comfortable in the lead after 20 minutes, and then just the All Blacks slipped into third gear and blew them away before half-time. So we played 6 minutes in Pretoria. 5-0, thanks to Lewis Rees-Zammit's try, and a pattern has been established, which is box kicking from Hardy, and there's another penalty for Wales, and it's a no-arms tackle. The referee, by the way, is Georgian in Nika Amshukveli, and we're going back for the no-arms tackle, and Wales will be very, very, very happy with this start.
Yeah, I thought it was an obstruction in the air there. It looked like a couple of little obstruction runners not allowing a clean sort of contest for that box kick. And Hardy's put some very good box kicks in so far. But again, another indiscretion by South Africa. They're not quite firing and not quite exactly with it where they want to be. And that's exactly what can happen with rugby. You're not quite there. And he says he just came down. It may be a bit of a harsh call there because he got very low, tried to get his head underneath him. But the referee has called it. They've got to adapt.
That's exactly the start they wanted as well, Goff. You said at the start, they need to start well to quieten this crowd down. And, in the opening 8 minutes, it's exactly what Wales have done.
Yeah. South Africa is here.
Will Rowland's input in that first try was superb. He stole the line out, he got through, and he made 10 yards and gave him that gain line to set it up from.
Josh Adams was in that lineup, but the ball has been stolen. And here's first touch for Jasper Wiese. Brushes 3 tacklers aside, just throws them out the way. So powerful of the Springboks. Then it's cleared by Yankees, but not the best of kicks. And it's taken by Lewis Rees-Zammit. Wales get possession back. South Africa are not firing on all cylinders, that's for sure. Dan Lydiate with a carry. Perfect start so far for Wayne Pivac's men. Will Rowland's in midfield, right in the centre of the field on the 10-yard line. Biggar has to check a little bit, so he just goes for the drop goal. Connects well. Oh, was he there?
He's having a look at it, is he?
Biggar thinks he may well have crept over the post. I think he may well have landed there.
Yeah, I think the distance looked okay.
Yeah, it looked all right, didn't it?
It just didn't look like it was travelling to start with, and it just kept going and going, didn't it?
He didn't catch it that well, did he?
It was a snatch drop goal, wasn't it? Because he got...
Let's listen to the referee.
Didn't make it, so we are restarting with the 22.
Oh, said
no.
Okay, stand by.
And in the meantime, Dan Biggar will leave the field because blood is pouring from his left ear. But let's just keep an eye on this then. Joy Neville is our TMO.
Okay, this is the best angle.
And Joy Neville is just checking whether or not that went over the...
That's a successful kick.
Okay. It's a successful kick?
Yes.
Oh, well, as a snatch drop goal, Hooky, you can probably talk us through that a bit better. It was, the pass stuck him up, so he couldn't go left, and he just stood off his left foot and just snatched at that, and boom.
As you say, where is he? Look, we're looking at this now. He's about 45 metres out. He hasn't really hit that. If that's back in Swansea, he's not even making the 22. But I think the altitude has carried that over, and we'll take it.
Well, 8-0. Just can't get enough plays in Pretoria, and Wales certainly feel that way right now because they've had the ideal opening 8 minutes to this game. Dan Biggar receiving treatment for that cut in his head. We'll take a small beat to pause and just give you the teams because it's been such a breathless start. We haven't had an opportunity to do so. Willemse at fullback, Colby and Mapimpi, the outstanding wingers. Well, you say outstanding, the centres aren't bad either. De Allende and Lucanio Arm. Yankees at 10, de Klerk at scrum half, Nche, Bonambi, Malherbe, the front row, Estebeth and Diacha, Kolisi, Visa and Mostert. It's a decent, it's a handy South African side, but Wales are competing very well so far, thanks in no part to Kieran Hardy, who once again, with a box kick, lands perfectly, gives the chasers ample opportunity to get there. And South Africa have possession, but it's slow ball. So they ask Mbonambi to truck it up on the halfway line.
And 9, use it now.
Off to Clerk. Wales defence is set, so he goes for the box kick. Hardy's back for it. That's over pitched by de Klerk, so Hardy had a bit of time, but then he ran into a bit of trouble. 15 metres in from his own 22. Faletau once again, just the slightest of footwork, just to brush the first tackler away, which meant that he didn't lose any momentum, and now it's set back to Hardy. Charged down, ball could go anywhere, it went over the touchline. It was the giant Estebeth who got there, and we've spoken about Hardy's perfect start, but there's a little warning for him.
Yeah, it's nice to get away with a warning like that, isn't it? You've just got fingertips too. Maybe, he needs just that extra player just to make that sort of more longer, that ruck longer. It was pretty long there, but Estebeth timed that very well and got through. Yeah, he's a very long lad, and again, he's got to get his chipping wedge on now, Hardy.
Sack is good.
Wales go to the tail. Line up secured. They're in their own 22, so Hardy marshals his forwards, tells them to give him a bit of space, and he gives it to Dylan Lewis, who's backtracking a little bit, but he's secured ball. I think we know what's coming here from Hardy. Estebeth is there once again. He'll go for the charge down. This time he gets within an inch, but Hardy gets it away, and that's a great kick, perfectly placed, because there was very, very little option for Mostert other to take it. Well, Dan Lydiard has done a typical chop tackle in midfield. The supporters alongside Faletau suggested that it was a no arms tackle. We'll get back to that, I think. Liam Williams has gathered, and the referee may well have a word with Joy Neville here.
The whistle, no, hang on. Whistle's gone.
It was a tackle in midfield by Faletau and Lydiard. The player flipped in the air. The question is whether there was an opportunity to use arms here. Lydiard and Faletau combined. I think they're unlucky there, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't think either Welsh player has tipped him. He's just unfortunate. As both players have hit him, he's sort of shot in the air and landed on his head.
Yeah, his feet seem to be off the floor, but the way he gave a no arms tackle earlier against South Africa, which it didn't seem that bad. He was just getting really low and in that tackle. That obviously made it look worse, but obviously his feet couldn't have been in contact with the floor when he was hit, and that's what tipped him. But
it's just a momentum-driven collision where the two players are actually wrapping. Yeah. So we do see it's a wrap, but it's just a momentum. No arms. Yeah, we do see it's a wrap. Yeah,
Lydiard technically didn't wrap his hands, but I think that's because he missed more than trying to. Yeah, he's trying. They're both trying. It's an ugly incident because Malherbe kind of flips and lands on his neck. So fingers crossed he's okay. But I think technically Lydiard and Faletau were okay, and the referee agrees with us, so we play on.
Both tacklers were in a very tight channel there as well, isn't it? They were both sort of, putting their shoulders in exactly the same place. But again, they gave the penalty earlier for something similar, so it's a bit of a let-off by us. But that's one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to give a yellow or red card early in this game. You've got to be squeaky clean.
8-0 to Wales, if you're just joining us on BBC Radio Wales.
Crutch!
They've had an outstanding start thanks to a try from Louis Rees-Zammit, a drop goal from Dan Biggar. This is a big test, first scrum. Malebra's just taken a knock, but he's an excellent scrummager, and there's an advantage coming. And that's a notch.
No need.
That was an early raised arm by the ref. I'm a little bit surprised by that. It looked to be reasonably solid. I didn't see the infringement, but the referee put his arm up very early. It seemed to be quite stable at that point. It was before South Africa were trying to go for their second shove, but he's got some. I can't think he's got tight head side for going knee down, doesn't he?
So Frans Malebra gets the penalty. Unmistakably a prop, isn't he? Yeah, he could not be any other position.
And props don't want to be in any position, do they? If you props along the years, Hooky, the back of the bus brigade, and there's no place they'd rather be right in the front of their locking horns and button heads.
Yeah, and keep him in there as well.
Yeah,
Dylan Lewis.
That's the angle. That's the angle from the other side.
That's down. Big game for Dylan Lewis. We know all about his ability in open play. On occasions, an extra back rower. But in South Africa, in Pretoria, at the Loftus, bread and butter first, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. What we can't, one scrum, one penalty, 3 points, we can't get that ticking over. Whatever needs to be done, whatever bit of technique needs to be changed to stop a penalty being given, it needs to be done. The information needs to come on, and adjust you must, because, it's an easy score for every, for a penalty every scrum.
13.5 minutes. South Africa yet to get on the score sheet on BBC Radio Wales. They are down by 8 points to 0.
Big kick for Yanties. This obviously the first choice 10, Andre Pollard's not playing. It's an opportunity for Yanties to step up. It's not an easy kick. He's had a bit of a shaky start, a couple of loose kicks, so this will settle his nerves a little bit.
A very straight runner from deep with his left boot. 47 metres, and the crowd will tell you that it's hit the post, and that could go anywhere, and it's landed in the hands of Will Rowlands. Thankfully for Wales, there wasn't much of a chase from the South Africans, and now Biggar has an opportunity to clear his lines, and he goes for safety, he goes for touch, and it's a good clearance, and it's South Africa ball about 3 or 4 metres in front of Wales' 10-yard line with a line-up. Yankees almost there.
Water break.
But it hit the post.
Water break. First water break, yes.
For the time being, both posts.
Yeah, he looked to strike it all right, didn't he? But I think it's another small win for Wales. Obviously, you've seen the Zammit try, the bigger drop goal. A couple of penalties given against South Africa. There we go, Yanties missing a penalty. So, the first quarter has definitely gone in Wales' favour.
Yeah, for sure. In Wales' favour, South Africa scrambled their way into the half. They haven't had a good period of possession or pressure to put on Wales, haven't they? So that was their chance to sort of convert a little bit just from an infringement in the scrum to get some points on the board. And it was a pretty hard kick to do, to hit both posts from that angle, Hooky, but he managed it. And Wales, really important thing, Wales now get the ball back in South Africa half and get a positive, whether it be a penalty or a kick to the corner for a line-up, but get the ball back in their half and put South Africa back on the ropes again, because they've not sort of found their feet in this game yet.
They had the perfect start. We said about Kieran Hardy's box kicks. His box kicks are on the money. Jasper Wiese is back there, the number 8 for South Africa, and he doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look as if he wants to take those kicks. So, Hardy's going to keep putting them on the money, and when Wales get opportunities, they've got to take them like they have.
I think one interesting thing for me, looking at this Wales pack,
now still it's a mole.
We've gone on and on for years about the side of Yacha and Etzebeth were giants. Well, Adam Beard and Will Rowlands, on paper,
they match them.
Are they equal, aren't they?
Get ready to use it. It's a second
Whether or not they do it on the rugby field is a different
use
question.
But
just in terms of size, they are big men. South African possession. De Allende, first carry. Unsurprisingly, it's direct and powerful, and it takes about 3 defenders to bring him down. De Jager round the corner the bearded, lanky second row. Etzebeth, the enforcer, one of the toughest men in world rugby.
No clear release, faster please.
Wales are being penalised for not releasing the tackle, slowing ball down.
Offside,
so South Africa have a free play. The Yacha
Keeps the mark, Andrea,
goes
please.
around side. Rowlands back inside to De Allende. South Africa just approaching Wales' 22 slowly. De Klerk with a kick. Across comes Liam Williams, bit of uncertainty, bounce could go anywhere.
No advantage.
Now we'll go back for the advantage because eventually he was taken over the touchline by Lewis Rees-Zammit. I'd suggest that probably South Africa prefer to have would they prefer to have that liner from there, because it's quite a tough kick to get to the touchline if they decide to go the corner.
It'd be interesting to see the confidence of their side. This can earmark a little bit of confidence if they need to settle themselves down and get the points, or if they're feeling fruity and going for the corner.
They're going for goal by the looks of it, Goffey.
Yeah, they need to settle themselves down. They can feel it. You can feel as you're looking at the team, the body language there. They're a little bit shell shocked, aren't they? It's not the start they wanted. They wanted this big blazing start. It's not how they envisaged it, and they're just trying to settle themselves down and get something on the board.
Well, earlier today, the New Zealand Island flew at the blocks and then were pegged back by the All Blacks. England faced 14 men for the majority of their match against Australia, yet they were still defeated. Pressure building on Eddie Jones, no doubt. His first defeat against Australia. And Wales, Elton Yankees waits for nobody. Short runner, blasts it over, and South Africa are on the score sheet. 16.5 minutes played. South Africa 3, Wales 8 in South Africa, in Pretoria.
The last couple of minutes have gone South Africa's way. South Africa starting to put a little bit of pressure on Wales. A couple of big carries, and as the game grows on, Wales has got to be careful of the penalty count, because that's what South Africa are going to thrive on, penalties and just getting their way back into the game.
I think Wales have got to make sure they really make South Africa earn their points, earn their yards. They can't give away things easily. A little bit of pressure from South Africa. They've had 2 kicks a goal. I think they've really got to make this African side work and work and work for any penalty or anything they get.
Bigger goes for depth with his restart, and is taken by Visa. The Leicester Tigers number 8. His teammate Tommy Reffel making his first appearance in a Wales shirt, having impressed in the Gallagher Premiership. De Klerk now with a box kick. A little bit too far, so Liam Williams has time. Here's Reffel, first time ball in hand.
You pulled away.
What a venue to make your first contribution in an international kit. Advantage coming for Wales. Dan Biggar goes for the chip kick, charge down, back will come.
Number 5, tackle off the ball.
Well, off the ball, Luke de Jager. It's on the halfway line, might be a little bit too far for Dan Biggar, but we say that at altitude. Do you go for the points here?
He's got the distance, I know for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there we are. He's pointed the post, and I thought that all the way. He's inside that half. It was a yard or two further inside the half than I thought originally. But yeah, I think that's within his range. We don't want to curse him here, but again, another slip, another mistake by South Africa, just taking Dylan Lewis off the ball, and a cheap penalty, really.
Yeah, De Jager lined him up. Dylan Lewis thought he might get the ball. Didn't get it, and thought, oh well, I might as well just finish the job off. And the referee was wise to it. BBC Radio Wales, Pretoria, the scene of that awful match in 1998. But it started so well for Dan Biggar and for Wales, and that's a successful penalty, and the lead of 8 is restored. It's South Africa 3, Wales 11. We've played a quarter of this game.
And that's a nice pressure reliever from Wales. I said they conceded 3, a bit of South African pressure, and they get the ball only just inside the half, and they force an easy penalty, not an easy penalty by any means, but force a penalty, a cheap penalty by South Africa, and fair play to Dan Biggar. He slotted that from near enough 48 metres.
52,000 at the Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria. Real heartland of South African rugby. Talupe Faletau receives the kickoff, the restart. We've played 20 minutes. It's 11-3, the advantage to Wales, to Wayne Pivac's Wales. A little bit sloppy from Kieran Hardy, who'd let the ball kind of just drip out the back of the ruck, so he couldn't go for the box kick. He had to just stick his head down, reset the ball, and now he needs his forwards to do the exact same thing back for him. But this time they're penalised, overcommitted to the ruck, latching, and that all came from that little slip from Kieran Hardy. He wasn't paying attention at the back of the ruck. The ball flew out, and it's Will Rowlands who's eventually punished, but he was left with very little option other than just to try and seal that ball, and Yankees could well go for the posts here.
Yeah, I think it was a good bit of counter rucking from South Africa there as well, which sort of got the ball sort of bobbling around and forced Kieran Hardy and forced a mistake. But again, these exits are so important, so important, and it didn't look too bad there. It was sort of seemed like a collapsed maul almost. But again, you've got to play this referee, and you've got to be squeaky clean on these exits. You can't give away cheap points.
Hit both posts with his first attempt, which was unsuccessful. He took no time for a second. Yankees with a bit more of a rush this time around. 15 metres in, the Yankees didn't strike it well, pulled it, and he's off colour, and one could argue that would not be a penalty that Andre Pollard would be missing, James.
Not at all. No, he's one of the most accurate kickers in world rugby, Pollard. And as I mentioned, when Yankees were stepping up for his first kick, big pressure on him. He'll know that Pollard is the number one, and this is an opportunity for him to take his opportunity.
You've
basically
been in that position. Do those things run through your mind then, really?
Yeah, we're all human. You know for a fact. You've got to nail every kick, particularly those kicks. They're the bread and butter for outside halves, and just puts more pressure on the Springboks.
But when you are first choice, does that kind of in a way relax you? When you're trying desperately to force,
you still feel the pressure, but yeah, I think you do feel a bit more relaxed because you've got that. You know that you're first choice.
Dan Lydiard putting a shift in defensively, as is Adam Beard and Ryan Elias, who's really stepped up to the international stage. And South Africa went through a fine set there. They just kept some patient play, and Valemsa eventually went for the grubber kick, went for the touchline, and it just crept over on the near touchline. And it's a defensive lineup for Wales just inside their own 22. And without doubt, South Africa, Ian, will put pressure on this line.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. You want to be up in the air, looking tall, moving around as well. Just put some sort of doubt in the hooker's mind and the caller's mind. But that's a great take by Beard. Just what was needed.
Elias to Beard, back to Elias at the back of the rolling maul. And he's just left his own 22, which means that Hardy wouldn't be able to go direct to touch. He wasn't planning on doing so anyway. And that one's just a little bit short. Competition in the air, and a South African ball. Valemsa can play all across the back line, wearing 15 on his back. We've seen very little of the South African backs, nothing whatsoever. Etzebeth crashes into Dylan Lewis, score draw there. Dan Biggar and Nick Tompkins fly up defensively, so De Allende is forced to come to the ground himself on the halfway line. South Africa trail by 11 points to 3. 23 minutes played. BBC Radio Wales. Wales looking comfortable with ball in hand and defensively, although they're kicking a lot. And speaking of kicking, that's what Yankees does, and Yankees hangs it up high, and it's taken and knocked on eventually by Kieran Hardy. Competition in the air from Colby.
3 and 2 offside.
But it was offside against South Africa. And again, just those little things going in favour of the visitors.
3 and 2 offside. 3 and 2.
But it was Dylan Lewis, I think he pulled up early on in this.
No, sorry, he's clipped Wales, not South Africa. Sorry, apologies.
I think he's come back to it, and he's just crept off his line, and you've got to be so careful. Those little, it's a cheap penalty. That those things are drilled and drilled and drilled. You remember under Sean Edwards, they were drilled so hard that you wouldn't make that mistake. You have to give that extra couple of inches, because otherwise you're pumped into your 5 metre line, unless he's.
Oh, Yankees went for the Hail Mary, went from halfway line for the corner, and Wales players in the corner said no, they'd gone over dead ball line. Yankees insists, gives the old TMO signal to say we want to watch a TV replay because I nailed that kick, and Yankees claims that one was struck perfectly and landed perfectly. Nick Tompkins, the linesman, and Lewis Rees-Zammit disagree, and I think that the TMO would interfere and chip in if they didn't agree, and that's another error from Yankees, and it's not been his afternoon so far.
Not in the opening 25 minutes, Gar, and it's added more pressure on the Yankees and this South Africa team, and you can just feel this Welsh team just growing every error Yankees makes.
Yeah, that was. I understand going into that 5 metre channel, because that gives you such a good chance for your power boys to sort of smash something over. But he stretched it, and it's not much in it. Those fine margins, and he's just stretched it the other side. The linesman was absolutely in position, so there was no arguing with it. But yeah, a big slip, and let's see how that deals with his confidence.
Critical moment in this game, because Wales are up by 11 points to 3, but they've got their first scrum here. They were penalised on the South African ball earlier. So it's Thomas, Elias and Lewis up against Nche, Mbonambi and Malebra. And pause and wait did Kieran Hardy, and he's been penalised. And now Kieran Hardy doesn't give the ball to de Klerk. And there's a little bit of afters here. And Hardy's not had the best of few minutes there. And he'll have a word with the referee as well.
Hang on. Give it to you. Hang on.
I might laugh at Dan's reaction there.
Dan Biggar shouted Khaleesi, because Khaleesi's moaning because Hardy's done that old move of running away with the ball, isn't he?
Yeah, Biggar saying.
Let's listen to the ref for a sec.
Then you did not give a ball, so I'm advancing 10 meters. It's going to be a scrum. So I'm going to advance the 10 meters for not giving the ball. It's a free kick. He wouldn't give it to me either. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so as said, Hardy did the old move that all scrum halves do, is when they get penalised, run away with the ball. He's been penalised for that, and now Dan Biggar had something to say to see.
Yeah, Biggar's complaining he hasn't given him the ball, and Hardy's just kept hold of it, and it's all kicked off a little bit there.
And Biggar suggested that's what you would do, isn't it? And that's what every scrum half does.
Yeah, he doesn't have to give it to him, but he can't keep hold of it either. He's just got to leave it there. And
you've got to be very cute when you do it. You've got to play it to the edge of the law, but you've got to realise what this referee can do to you, and banging you back 10. The scrum was under pressure. That's why Hardy couldn't put it in to start with, so it wasn't his fault. He was just trying to hold that ball until the scrum eased up.
Much better scrum from Wales. Visa digs for it and then peels off the back and goes straight into Dan Biggar, who just works as a speed bump and throws him to the floor, and the ball flies out and is kicked through by de Klerk. And Liam Williams is caught underneath the shadows of his own try line, and he's 5 metres out, and Wales are under pressure. Hardy to Gareth Thomas, 3 metres from his own try line. Wales are up by 11 points to 3, but they're creaking a little bit in Pretoria, and Dan Biggar goes for shelter, drills it off, but away comes South Africa through Valemsa, given the ball by Mapimpi. Mapimpi's first touch of the game, I think, and that was over the touchline just to take a quick restart. South Africa getting a bit of enthusiasm, bit of momentum. Visa becoming more prominent in this game. Another penalty coming. Will Rowlands is penalised on the deck again. South Africa through Valemsa to Khaleesi over the 22. Warning station. De Klerk goes himself, but he was offside, was Faletau. So penalties building against Wales now. First real pressure of the match. Through goes Yankees. Yankees up to the 5 metres short. Offloads to Nche. Wales under the pump. But the referee says enough is enough. And we'll be going back for a penalty. And it's Liam Williams and De Allende who are having a bit of a disagreement. And Gareth Thomas gets involved, as does Valemsa.
Is that the cornman ringing the bell there? Throwing white towels in, maybe, I don't know.
Go back, Will.
There's a bit of an edge to this game now.
You know what's good? Wales have got to go in the front, because what they don't want to do is get bullied in any shoot. You're away in someone's backyard, and South Africa, a very powerful nation, they don't want to take any messing.
Then number one from Wales came in and unnecessarily escalated.
All right. Go back. Go back. You two, come to me. Come to me.
So the linesman's flagged Gareth Thomas's contribution, just flying into the melee.
So far, it's a good contest going on, all right?
It was only a push.
We don't want to spoil this. And it comes to a borderline now, where you can't cross it.
Yes, sir.
No, look, must be speaking with 15, please, yeah? And you're 7. Okay? So original advantage was there for not rolling in offside, then you still off. So I'll go back for a mark, but I need you to speak to your players.
Can I just ask a question?
I will, but let me finish.
Sorry.
Anything up to this point, who instigates it, gotta get sanctioned. You're fair enough with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the difference between the little scuffle up there where you marched us back 10?
Because he did not. Hang on, he did not give the ball. That's a problem.
He's just moving.
Speak, Dan, please. Speak.
Dan just needs to be a little bit careful how he handles this referee. I don't think he wants to nip at him. Being very respectful, and this referee's made some good decisions so far, but he's just got to be a bit. He's just got to be tactical with how he chats to him. I think.
Well, we've spoken time and time about Sam Warburton's ability with the referee, always cool and calm, and Dan Biggar is fiery. We know about that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and he's a very good talker. He talks well to the referees, he talks well to his players, but we're all for enthusiasm. We've just got to be careful here, Wales, now. It's a critical moment of the game. Just be careful not to boil over. They've given a couple of penalties away now, Wales. Adam Beard, Will Rowlands on the wrong side, Faletau for offside, and this is where the pressure mounts now in South Africa. This is where they're dangerous.
28 minutes on the clock. Scoreboard reads South Africa 3, Wales 11. Yankees ignores a penalty, goes for the corner. And here's a test of the Welsh pack. It's Faletau who's clipped by the referee. I mean, he was clearly offside, coming backwards. Couldn't help himself because the clerk cleverly almost ran into him. But here's South Africa reverting to type, to the power of their forwards. First job done. De Jager takes the line out. Be no surprises when what comes follows here, because Mbonambi has the ball at the back of the rolling maul, and slowly but surely it's just sailing towards the Welsh try line. Dylan Lewis is in the way, he's making a nuisance of himself and slowing things down, but the green machine is still heading in the right direction. Now the backs get it. De Allende into Tompkins, and Biggar so far dealt with him very well. Reffel goes for the turnover, changes his mind. Big tackle in midfield. Dan Lydiard gets his mitts on the ball. Lydiard is there, slowed it down, but it's still South African possession. De Allende, 15 metres out of the Springboks. They trail by 11 points to 3. 30 minutes played in Pretoria. De Klerk, Yankees, hangs it up high. Pressure on Josh Adams. Colby's there. Adams, well, touched the ball. Didn't catch it cleanly, but Liam Williams managed to dab it down, so it's a drop of 22, and Wales got away with it there thanks to some excellent defending and possibly the wrong call from Yankees.
I think it was good defence from Wales. It's they're up in the eye line of De Allende, and that's just forced the Yankees to kick. I think it's excellent defence from Wales, and Wales will take that all day long.
Yeah, I think it was a superb. I think it was Gareth Thomas that put a huge hit. I'm not sure it was Esterbeth, but a really, really low, sort of powerful hit. And when we're putting some individual big hits in, and we need to carry that on, because when they want to, South Africa, with the likes of Wales are getting over that gain line, and they're looking powerful and getting that gain line and getting momentum. But with tackles like Gareth Thomas just put in, I think it was Thomas, that's the type of thing that stops in it. And again, it's sending South Africa into option 2 and 3 and booting the ball and not keeping the ball in hand.
So Wales have a decent record against South Africa, especially in recent times. They've won 4 matches in a row with 4 wins in a row. Then they've lost the last 2. South Africa, defending World Cup champions, of course. Siya Kolisi conversing with the referee, the man who lifted the World Cup, playing in front of a packed house for the first time in almost 3 years, for the first time since they lifted that trophy. And the supporters have enjoyed themselves, enjoyed the atmosphere. I wouldn't say they'd be nervous yet, because this game is still for the taking, and you'd probably still argue, Ian, that South Africa still favours to win.
You'd say, but as the game is at the minute, Wales are forcing South Africa into mistakes. South Africa haven't really fired a lot of shots as yet, and the crowd are trying to generate their own atmosphere because the South African team aren't generating it for them. They're not giving them that pedestal. So Wales are doing very well. They got more of the same and a few less mistakes off Wales to put more pressure on South Africa again.
Goal line dropout. Willemse catches it on Wales' 10-yard line. The big rangy fullback. De Klerk, Oxenche, Real dynamo of a Lucid prop and Che. Full of smiles, full of running. Colby looking for work, but he just runs into traffic. Namely, Ryan Elias, Luch Diacha, Reffel is there, and Reffel gets the penalty. Oh yes, that's what he's been picked for. And Tommy Reffel has shown time and time again in the Gallagher Premiership that he can compete with the most physical, and that's what he's doing in Pretoria this evening. He'll be delighted with that contribution. 30 minutes into his Test debut, and Reffel gets a crucial penalty.
And that is crucial. Look at the South African body language from that. You know, you can see the frustration oozing out of them. You know, they're trying to get possession. They're trying to get sort of some continuity going. And that's happening. How many times has that happened this first 30 minutes? You can just see the frustration, seeping out of them. You know, those big moments, you've got to carry those big moments on.
Yeah, that was a fantastic turnover by Tommy Reffel. But again, it was a defence of Wales forcing South Africa back inside. Nick Tompkins is flying up on the outside. There's no option on the outside for South Africa, forcing them back inside. And that allows Tommy Reffel to get over the ball and win Wales a turnover.
Wales go to the tail, and there's a collision in midfield, and it lands in the favour of Lewis Rhys-Zammit, and Lewis Rhys-Zammit regains it, and that's a second from nothing. Lewis Rhys-Zammit, fortuitous, no doubt, but you've got to take your opportunities in South Africa, and that's what Wales have done. I'm sure the TMO will have a look at this, because there was a big collision in midfield, but for the time being, Lewis Rhys-Zammit has a second, and Wales have a sizable lead in Pretoria. It was to the tail, and Yankees collided with Nick Tompkins, and Lewis Rhys-Zammit took the ball. He played on. The question is whether Nick Tompkins' tackle knocked it on, and Rhys-Zammit squarely, there's no doubt in the try. Is he offside, Lewis Rhys-Zammit? Is there an illegal collision? And does Nick Tompkins knock it on?
I don't think it's an illegal collision. I think the question would have been, has Nick Tompkins knocked it on? But he's given the try. It's a try.
He's given the try, and that's off a missed throw as such. A missed throw and opportunist. And he's followed it up, Rhys-Zammit, and he's got his foot on the ball. And again, against our line out that went wrong, and bang, we've been very clinical and opportunist. And that's exactly the start that we needed and wanted.
Dan Biggar makes no mistake with the conversion. Loftus-Versfeld is silent. Wales lead in South Africa, a place where they've never won before, by 18 points to 3. And I'm already feeling nervous.
Yeah. But the South Africans are rattled. They're rattled. They're not expecting. They've turned up for a bit of a party. Fans have turned up for a party, and it's not gone to script yet.
But we said at the start, it's about Wales taking opportunities. They've had 2 opportunities, albeit from turnover, and they've taken both and scored 2 tries.
Once again, Faletau given responsibility of taking the restart. Does it? No fuss. Gives it a Hardy. Hardy again. Good clearance by him, because Visa caught it and he had a man on him. Mbonambi, Dox and Che on the halfway line. South Africa 3, Wales 18, 34 minutes played. Willemse goes to the Gary Owen. This time it's Hardy, and Hardy gets the ball, but he's collared at the same time by Etzebeth. Wales with possession, 15 minutes in from the near touch, 50 metres in from the near touchline. They're about 3 or 4 metres away from their own 22. Gareth Thomas, Wales' first choice Lucid, no doubt now. Late bloomer, but Wayne Pivac is a big fan of Gareth Thomas, and he's a good scrummager. Well, I'd say to you, James, but he's also handy around the field as well.
Yeah, he's skillful, he can carry the ball, and I think that's the question. If he can steady that scrum up, which he's done so far, then he's going to start many more tests for Wales.
Reffel complains that he couldn't get his hands on the ball. Sloppy from South Africa, and Diacha and Malherbe, confusion in midfield, and we repeat this phrase, but the Springboks are rattled.
So many uncharacteristic errors from South Africa that we're not used to. Simple knock-ons, silly penalties given away, dropping high balls.
They're not stringing it together very well, are they? So they say again, everyone looking around at each other, and it's not connected, is it? It's not gelled for South Africa. They're looking around at each other, and you just wonder now, with 5 minutes to go, the coaching staff, will there be a raft of changes coming on for them?
Well, this is the other point I'd like to say, James. They've gone for a 6-2 split, 6 forwards on the bench. They're down by 3 points to 18. They haven't really got a recognised 10 on the bench. You know, are you going to put Willie LaRue, who's a talented player, in at 10, or will you just move Damien Willemse, who can certainly play 10, but he's not a recognised international outside half?
Willie LaRue can step up there, you know, but he's not someone who can control a game like Pollard, for example. And you just wonder if Nienaber, the South Africa coach, which we can see on screen there now, is regretting not picking Andre Pollard, because Andre Pollard was fit. He could have played, he just didn't pick him because he was involved in the top 14 final and just felt he didn't train enough with South Africa. But you know, looking at 18-3 scoreline going into half-time, will he be regretting that now?
Well, Rassie Erasmus, time and time again, repeated the phrase that there was one side he didn't like to play against. And he's gone upstairs, but he's still involved in South African rugby. It was Wales. The one side they feared was Wales. We spoke pre-game. We weren't the only 3 people to give Wales little to no chance. But with a 15-point margin, despite only having 25% of the territory, Wales may start believing if they get to the sheds with this scoreline at half-time.
Yeah, it's not like Wales have come out the gate like an absolute dynamo, you know, like South Africa, they're just making South Africa make mistakes. It's not like Wales are swarming around them with everything and putting huge amounts of pressure. They're putting pressure on. They're doing well, but uncharacteristic mistakes from South Africa are really getting compounded themselves. You know, fantastic and great opportunist tries by Wales, and they've been clinical. You know, we've got to give them real good credit. But this is a bit of a shadow of the South African team that we've seen of late.
Scrum on the halfway line. Wales have 4 backs on the near side, on the blind side, and Hardy goes towards those back. Flat ball to bigger, dances past the Clerk over the halfway line. South Africa compete, and that forces Faletau to pick up from the deck and place it back. Somehow the ball is back. South Africa just bordering on the offside, but will play on for the time being. Wales up to the 10-yard line. Ball was out, and Etzebeth gets his hands on it, and Etzebeth has turned it over. And Wales, for once, were disorganised with ball in hand, and that might be on for South Africa. Khaleesi against Dan Lydia, De Allende pushes Dan Lydia out of the way, and Willemse's away. He's got the Clerk inside him. Dan Biggar gives chase, and Dan Biggar comes back with a miracle tackle to stop the Clerk, who was over the 22. But Dan Lydia, Dan Biggar, I should say, is slow in rolling away. Still they come. Yankees. There's a penalty being played, I think. Etzebeth places the ball back. No scrum half. Spilt forward, still advantage, says the referee. 3 minutes left of this first half. South Africa trail by 15 points in Pretoria. They've been here before, but they haven't crossed the whitewash. Oxen Che carries. He's within 6 or 7 metres. The Clerk. Colby switches direction, dances past 1, past 2, and then he's driven back. Ball is knocked on, but we'll come back for the advantage. We will come back because Dan Biggar was so slow in rolling away, having put in a brilliant tackle. But I think he and Wayne Pivac and the rest of the players in Wales will take that penalty.
Yeah, he'd be lucky not to go to the sin bin. I think Dan Biggar, that was actually a professional foul. He had no attempt to roll away, but yeah, he'd be very lucky to get away with that. But it had to be done. They were under pressure, Wales. And like you say, he's an excellent tackle. And
here we go. The referee is having a word with.
At first glance, I thought he was caught. I thought he was caught by the waist there. But I know, you can make yourself look. You can put a bit of acting on.
Cynically slowed it down. So it's a yellow card. No discussion. No.
Yellow card.
Yeah, you know that.
For Dan Biggar. The referee agrees with James Hook. Dan Biggar shakes his head, Italian footballer style, and mumbles and mutters to himself that he disagrees with the decision. He's disgusted.
Yeah,
he's going to be sitting this one out, and we'll watch back the replay. He comes back.
It's a great tackle.
Great tackle onto Clerk because he wraps himself around him and not rolling away. You say he's unlucky, and
I'll give an alternate opinion to it then, because you boys have given your my alternate opinion. He rolls and he's trying to buy time, so he's rolled de Klerk over, and de Klerk is actually trapped on the top of his hip.
Yeah.
Now, he is trapped, whether he's made a meal of not trying to get away, but de Klerk is on his hip, and it is,
he is on him. I think he's got to make an attempt to look like he's rolling away at least.
Key moment of this game. Wales under 14 men. They're up by 18 points to 3. Minute and a half left of the first half. South Africa gone to the corner. They've gone for a rolling ball. And Mbonambi has his hands on the ball. The forwards want to get the job done themselves, and they're just moving forward slowly but surely. Faf de Klerk.
Use it now, use it!
Been told to use it. And that's what he tries to do, but it's all a big pile of mess, and this could well work for Wales. And Tommy Reffell, Ryan Elias scream like they've just got to try, and Wales know if they can survive the next minute, they'll get in at half-time with a 15-point lead in South Africa, having never won a test in South Africa in their history.
This is huge. This minute is huge. The shock of Biggar going off, just to hold out for this minute, to get that rest in the sheds. Just to go into those change rooms, get that rest, reorganise, get some strategy, get your mini units. That's massive. Send South Africa into the cooler. If they get the score here, then it'll put their tails up straight away. So huge 30-odd seconds for Wales here. They need to keep this ball, get it off the pitch when time runs out, and get into that changing sheds with the scoreline as it is.
Well, Frans Malherbe is recognised as a props prop. He's a tight end who lives for scrummaging, and he'll be licking his lips here because Wales want to get this in, out and away. 5 seconds left. Faletau once again does the hard work, but he's isolated, and Wies's in there. But Faletau somehow has got that ball away. He truly is a remarkable rugby player. And Liam Williams takes his time, punts it over, and this takes us to half-time. Wales, through 2 tries by Louis Rees-Zammit, have the lead in South Africa. I'm going to whisper it. Nobody wants to tempt fate, but a side, a country, a nation that has never won at the home of the Springboks in South Africa lead by 18 points to 3.
They do, absolutely, and a bit of history maybe could be made this afternoon. Do you know, there's a lovely orange glow across the sky above Loftus Versfeld as darkness falls in Pretoria, but what a bright first half for Wales. A 15-point lead and the chance to get their first win in South Africa ever. It's nearly 60 years since they first toured there, 1964. 10 games since then on South African soil and 10 defeats. Are we witnessing the end of that winless run this afternoon, Ian Goff and James Hook? I mean, that was, was that more than you could have expected from the first test, first half?
Do you know what, it's really, really promising, because stereotypically, say, a lot of our boys haven't had that much rugby in the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks, and we notoriously start slow in test series. 6 nations of test series. The first game we tend to get caught a bit rusty, but that's exactly how we wanted it. We've got our tails out. We've got an opportunist try. There's a great turnover in the line out and kept the ball alive with Will Rowlands and I think it was Gareth Thomas or Dylan Lewis and Zammit Rees. He's been on fire. 2 opportunist tries. He's finished them superbly well, and it's put Wales in a great position. And rather than us starting slow, we've started hard. We put the pressure on them. We've made South Africa make uncharacteristic mistakes. And they're looking around at each other. You can see their body language isn't there at the minute. They're going to have a purple patch, and this is the worry. This is why we're holding our breath a bit. But Wales have put themselves in exactly the spot they needed to be in at this point.
How many Rees lightning headlines are we going to get tomorrow in the papers? But it was amazing to think that he was rested through the Six Nations at times and he didn't start every game, because this is what he can do. And we've seen things from Wales there, James, that people have been crying out for. Particularly with that first try. Quick hands, moving the ball at speed, and then Louis Rees-Zammit doing what he does with the run from almost the halfway line. Yeah,
if we win this game, I think we'll see Louis Rees-Zammit headlines all week, I think, Ian. And, I think deservedly so. It's a fantastic half of rugby. I don't think anybody expected that first half from Wales, probably not even the players, to go in 18-3 half-time. And we said on commentary there, 2 minutes before the end of the first half, a massive moment, stopping South Africa go over there. 18-10 looks far different to 18-3, and it looks so positive for Wales. And South Africa don't look themselves. A lot of errors at the breakdown aerially. We spoke about Yankees, a lot of mistakes. And it's going to be a very, very interesting second half. As Goffey said, they will have their moments, South Africa, in the second half, but 15-point lead at half-time, we'll take that all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about discipline and not giving away cheap penalties. I mean, we saw during that game a little bit of players losing their tempers a bit, and Biggar had to sort of chat to them, but then he himself then gets yellow carded just before the half-time whistle for not rolling away off de Klerk. So he has to be setting the right example as captain, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. I can see what he was doing, and maybe I can see the referee. He pulled him up minutes before that and said the next indiscretion will be sanctioned. So maybe it was in his head before that. I think maybe he played at staying in there a bit longer and didn't roll away, but he got caught. But the penalty beforehand where Kieran Hardy kept the ball was a bona fide penalty, and Dan was just nipping at the referee a little bit, and maybe that's got the referees back up a little bit. I'm not sure, but those little penalties we don't need to give away, especially when you're away from home. Give them the ball, just get back 10, just rip back 10 as quick as you can, get the boys back. We're down there. If you can get away, just make it look like you get away. Really, jerk yourself around and make yourself look like you're getting out there, just not to give that penalty away, or the yellow card, because those things cost you dearly. But again, it's a great effort by Wales this first half, and there's bits we can improve on to go even better again.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big 8 minutes for Wales at the start of that second half. Obviously, Biggar's going to be off for 8 minutes now. A lot of responsibility is going to go on to Kieran Hardy. He's had a fantastic first half. Liam Williams will slot in at number 10 there, and you can bet your bottom dollar South Africa are going to put a lot of pressure on Liam Williams in the opening 8 minutes of the second half.
Have a rest, gents. It's been a great first half, hasn't it? South Africa 3. Wales 18, something special could be happening there in Pretoria. Second half commentary to come here on BBC Radio Wales, and we'll also round up the rest of the day's sports news, because lots going on today. But before we do that, let's get the latest news headlines here on Radio Wales with Dan Moffat.
On FM,
digital radio,
and on BBC Sounds.
This is BBC Radio Wales.
In the past hour, Welsh Labour has agreed to back proposals to expand the Senedd and change how it is elected. A specially held conference in Cardiff Bay agreed with plans that will see the number of Senedd members increase from 60 to 96. 3/4 of those who voted supported the change, but there was some opposition, including from members of the GMB, Community and Usdaw unions. The Foreign Office says it condemns the exploitation of prisoners of war for political purposes after Russian state media claimed that 2 British men had been charged with being mercenaries in eastern Ukraine. Andrew Hill and Dylan Healy are believed to have been captured by pro-Moscow separatists in April. The BBC's Joe Inwood reports from Kyiv.
The last time Andrew Hill was seen, he was being paraded on Russian state TV in military fatigues, his head bandaged and arm in a sling. There has been no word of Dylan Healy since he was detained at a checkpoint on his way to help evacuate a Ukrainian family. It's now being reported by Russian state media that both men are being held in the self-styled Donetsk People's Republic, where they will be tried as mercenaries. It is a process that previously led to 2 British men and a Moroccan being sentenced to death, although they can appeal.
The former Conservative Deputy Chief Whip, Chris Pincher, has said he is seeking professional medical support after he was suspended from the Parliamentary Party over allegations he groped 2 men at a private members' club on Wednesday. Speaking out for the first time since he resigned from his role, he said he hoped to return to his duties as an MP as soon as possible. A teenager has been charged following a serious assault on a man in Monmouth who has since died. 19-year-old Morgan Wainwright is charged with unlawfully wounding Andrew Nicholas with intent to do grievous bodily harm. The 43-year-old was found with serious injuries unconscious in Mono Street on Sunday morning. He then died from his injuries on Thursday. Travel experts are warning that air passengers should expect a further round of summer flight cancellations to be announced next week. British Airways and Heathrow Airport have welcomed a UK government amnesty, which means they can axe flights from their summer schedule before Friday without being penalised. Thousands of people have gathered in Wrexham as part of a Welsh independence rally. The event, led by the movement's All Under One banner Yes Cymru and Indie Fest Wrexham, is the first since the COVID pandemic. Paul Morris from Swansea was one of those at the march.
Well, we're just here to add a weight to the Welsh independence cause, as we try to do down in South Wales anyway, but it's a bit stronger up here in North Wales, I think, but it's getting there, and this is such an important march.
Speaking in the Senedd earlier this week, First Minister Mark Drakeford said that a pro-independence party would need to win a majority of votes in a Senedd election before there was a strong case for any vote on Welsh independence. BBC Radio Wales. For an update anytime, ask your smart speaker to play BBC News for Wales.
Live rugby on BBC Radio Wales.
Your team for Welsh sport.
Yeah, welcome back to the programme. Halfway through the first test between South Africa and Wales in Pretoria at Loftus Versfeld Stadium, and a half-time scoreline that very few Welsh fans, in all honesty, would have been expecting. South Africa 3, Wales 18, with 2 tries from Lewis Rees-Summit during that first half. We'll talk more with our match summarisers Ian Goff and James Hook in just a few moments as we await the second half. Don't go anywhere. We've got full match commentary on the way. It's on Radio Wales Medium Wave. It's on Radio Wales Extra via BBC Sounds, or you can listen on the website via BBC Sport Online. So loads of ways to keep in touch with the big match. If you have to go out this afternoon, you can take us with you on your tablet or your mobile. Do stay with us here on Radio Wales. In other news today, lots of rugby going on. Lots of Test matches getting underway in this big month of internationals. There was a 4th successive defeat for England earlier on, which has piled more pressure on the coach, Eddie Jones. Australia winning 30-28. That's despite playing 45 minutes with 14 men after their lock. Darcy Swain was sent off for a headbutt. New Zealand, meanwhile, they preserved their 28-year unbeaten run at Auckland's Eden Park with a 6-try win over Ireland. The final score was 42-19. And then later on, we've got Scotland playing the first of their 3 tests in Argentina. Just looking at the tennis today and Wimbledon, Britain's Liam Brodie has been knocked out. He was beaten in straight sets by Australian Alex de Minaur earlier. Fellow Brit Katie Boulter also losing in straight sets. She went out to Harmony Tan of France, who knocked out Serena Williams earlier in the week. At the Tour de France, Geraint Thomas is 26 seconds behind the yellow jersey wearer, Wout van Aert. The second stage won by Dutchman Fabio Jacobsen after a sprint finish. Tributes are being paid to the former Rangers and Scotland goalkeeper Andy Gorham. That's after the 58-year-old passed away following a short battle with cancer. In Formula 1, Ferrari's Carlos Sainz will be on pole for tomorrow's British Grand Prix. Red Bull's Max Verstappen will start second, and Lewis Hamilton's going to be fifth. And in the cricket, lots of delays, lots of rain delays at Edgbaston. At England, well, they've lost a 3rd wicket on day 2 of the 5th test against India. The hosts off the field currently on 60 for 3. That's in reply to the tourists' 416 all out. And then in terms of Glamorgan and the T20 Blast competition, the bad news is that they cannot make the knockout stages after results went against them last night. But they travel to Essex this evening for their penultimate game in the group, and there will be ball-by-ball commentary, as usual, from 6:30 on the BBC Sport website, which is exactly where you can find second-half commentary of South Africa against Wales, which is also available on Radio Wales Extra. Just go to BBC Sounds and click on the Radio Wales Extra icon for full commentary, and it's also available on medium wave via the old-fashioned wireless on the 882 frequency. Good to have your company here this afternoon. 13 minutes past 5, just a few minutes away from the second half in Pretoria. It's complete darkness now above Loftus Versfeld. There's still those pyrotechnics going on around the side of the field at the moment, throwing up the flamethrowers to keep people warm there. It's not too warm. I think it's around about 12 degrees Celsius, so not too warm for the 2 sets of players, but it was a brilliant first half for Wales. They are leading South Africa by 18 points to 3 to Lewis Rees-Summit. Tries and a drop goal from Dan Biggar, plus a penalty as well, keeping that scoreboard ticking over. Ian Goff and James Hook enjoying what they're watching and seeing at half-time, fellas, replays of those 2 Lewis Rees-Summit tries. Brilliant work by him. Brilliantly executed. Definitely,
and we've taken our opportunities, and we've said just now that there's going to be an onslaught in the second half, particularly in the opening sort of 8 minutes. Dan Biggar's off, and we've weathered everything South Africa have thrown at us so far. We've just got to keep going. We've got to keep going, and we've mentioned Wales' bench. There's a lot of experience there to come off the bench. South Africa have got a 6-2 split. It's going to be one heck of a second half.
But South Africa, they're not going to stand for this, Ian, are they? I mean, you mentioned that we haven't seen much of their backs at all during that first half. They've been pushed back. It did have little moments, didn't they, towards the end of that second half, where obviously de Klerk was away, Biggar pulled him down illegally, according to the ref. But otherwise, we didn't see much of their backs, did we?
No, not at all. And that was from our defensive error as well, how de Klerk got through. I think we had them measured up, and it was a missed tackle, and off they went, which is ominous. But you know, the stats are pretty much, I just had a quick glance at the stats that come through, and they're pretty much on South Africa's side with the territory, and I think it was 15 missed tackles by Wales to 1 South Africa miss. But South Africa are just not flowing. They're just not connecting with things at the minute. And you know, I can imagine to be in 2 opposing team talks at this half-time. You know, there'd be fire and brimstone in the South African dressing room. And again, there's some real constructive stuff going on in the Welsh one, but it's a huge next sort of 8 to 10 minutes for Wales with Biggar off in the sin bin. You know, just making sure, you know, if they can contain South Africa to not score any points or really limit their point scoring in this next sort of 8 to 10 minutes, that would be huge for Wales, and the confidence from that would really sort of flip on its side. But we've got a test match on our hands.
It's a beautiful sight as well, isn't it? The sky above Loftus Versfeld, still that orange semicircle there, mostly black, but it's a beautiful night there in Pretoria, and they're still dancing up and down. The home fans there waving their Springboks flags, and we can see some Wales fans with the daffodil heads on. Oh, they were certainly enjoying that first half, weren't they? There's a fair few dozen there, certainly that we've seen during that first half, as South Africa stand by to come out for the second half. And indeed, here come Wales. James, Ian, how do they manage this second half, Wales, now?
More of the same. That's the best half of rugby I've seen under Wayne Pivac, without a shadow of a doubt, and they've just got to carry that on now. South Africa are going to have their moments, as we've mentioned, but they've just got to battle on 40 minutes of rugby to make history.
Yeah, no mistakes. Now, if you cut the mistakes out, the Welsh mistakes out to a minimum this next 8 minutes, don't give South Africa a chance to kick you into the corners and give them possession, you know, in the red zone with, you know, especially down to 14 men. It's, you know, it's really huge to be clinical in defence and attack now for them.
That stat would have been thrown at these players throughout the week, wouldn't it? 10 games in South Africa, 10 defeats so far. They will know they are 40 minutes away from ending that winless run. Second half commentary here on BBC Radio Wales then. James, Ian and Gareth Riso in.
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you, Ian. The first thing I'll tell you is that the live bookies still have the Springboks as favourites to win this match, despite being down by 15 points. Secondly, there's a substitution for South Africa, and Willie le Roux is on the field. We presume that it's Elton Jantjies who's been given the hook, and if that is the case, then in all probability we'll probably see Damian Willemse, the Stormers full back, playing at 10. There's a penalty straight out the blocks for South Africa. Sloppy from Wales because he was in South African territory. It's Dan Lydiate who's penalised. But the presumption is that Willemse, who can play a 10, who has played a 10 for the Stormers, but is not an elite established international 10, would be given responsibility, and that's no surprise. And his first contribution is to miss touch from a penalty, so that's not the ideal start. Liam Williams gives it back to Willemse, and he hangs on to his ankles on the 10-yard line. 18-3 the lead for Wales, 18 points to 3 in South Africa. Mbonambi carries. De Klerk told to use, looks over his shoulder, sees that Colby's ready to give chase. Colby's in front of the kicker, but the referee couldn't see that. Liam Williams, safe as ever, up to the 10-yard line. Tackled by Luc de Jager. South African hand on the ball, but he's told to release it. And the penalty is given South Africa because that was a big mess, and it's de Jager who's penalised, and the referee is fussy in the breakdown, but that one went in favour of Wales. And Wales get a penalty, and sadly, I'm already clock watching because there's 38 minutes, 15 seconds left to survive.
I don't think Liam Williams will be rushing this kick, put it that way. It's a very relaxed sort of entrance into this, and make sure you get your players behind you. They run this clock down. They just need to slow things down and not miss touch.
Well, Liam Williams missed a touch. Wales, of course, down to 14 men. De Klerk was outside the 22 there. And De Klerk has gone straight into touch, direct. And De Klerk still chases the ball, but the referee's uncertain. I'm pretty sure that when De Klerk connected that ball, he was outside the 22, so it'll be a Wales liner just outside the 22, but the TMO will double check that to Joy Neville.
All right, yeah. Foot was on the line.
Oof.
Yeah. Mark is here. I'll help you. Mark is here.
Well,
De Klerk breathe a sigh of relief there, Gar.
But it was,
shows
just that missed touch and a penalty, as well off that kick-off. It's those things. This is a big match.
The referee's been given a call to speak to the TMO, so perhaps.
Maybe not.
No, I can't hear my AR, so I need to the comms. Yeah.
So the referee can't hear Joy Neville.
Yeah. Time's up. I can't hear him, so we need to improve.
So Andrea Piardi, the linesman or the assistant referee, chips in and has a word with our Georgian referee, Nika Mashukeli, and will attempt to re-establish communication between Joy Neville and the referee, and this may take a couple of minutes.
But Wales would be more than happy with the situation they're in. South Africa are rattled, there's no doubt about it. They've taken the first choice 10 off Elton Jantjies, who hasn't had the best half of rugby. Well, Emsa's gone to 10. His first moment in the game, he's missed touch. And it's there for Wales to win, there's no doubt about it.
My worry is, our little mistakes as well. If we can clean that up, then it gives us so much more of a chance. Like the Lydiate penalty off the kickoff. Keep the pressure on them, because by giving those little penalties and those little misses, all of a sudden it's relaxing all that pressure and giving South Africa an out.
Wales, Messi in the line-out, and Dylan Lewis regathers the ball, but he's back at his own 22. And Ryan Elias digs, and Kieran Hardy then suggests that he's going to take it quickly and counter-attack from 60 centimetres out, and then he has a second thought and realises, no, we're 18 points to 3 up in Pretoria. The finish line seems a long, long way away. And Hardy dummies at the base and wriggles out of a tackle, and he's out the 22, but he's playing with fire there.
And Wales, use it now, use it!
And Wales really struggling to get this exit right, and Nick Tompkins deputises. And South Africa compete at the breakdown, and Wales, not for the first time, are penalised in that area. That kind of latch squeeze again. And South Africa will be very happy. And once more, it's Kieran Hardy not following brief, go with the kick, and eventually there's no scrum half there. There's a panic at the breakdown here, and South Africa get the penalty.
That's 3 turnovers in 3 minutes. The Lydiate one, the missed touch by Liam Williams, and then that penalty that allows South Africa to punch you into the corner. Those, if you want to win a Test match away from home in a cauldron like this, they've rattled South Africa. They've done superbly well, but you've really got to hit those markers. You've got to set the bar higher and not give away these things.
Wales on the line, please. Thank you very much.
It might actually play into South Africa's favour. There's no recognised goal kicker now on the pitch. They're forced to go to the corner, and they're forced to go for the try.
It's a scrum half now, yeah, let's go.
But they're trying to spark themselves off, aren't they? They're trying to light themselves up, because they are lacking.
Wales up by 15. Dan Biggar in the sin bin, rolling more, squeezing towards the touchline. Wales have done the job, but they'll be penalised. Taking quickly by De Klerk, and he's knocked it on. De Klerk took the quick penalty, knocked it on.
No need.
And Wales should get possession here. And the South African bench is dismayed, frustrated, annoyed, because that's another opportunity, but back will come. And I think, as Adam Beer suggests, South Africa got away with that one.
Yeah, look, that would crucify the forwards, taking a quick tap and making a mistake like that. It just sums up how South Africa have been. They've got away with it. But this is tough times. Another 3 minutes or so for Wales, and this is huge moments for them. I'm not sure if they realise how big this next 3 minutes are before they get bigger on. You stop them scoring a try, and you put yourself in such a different position, and South Africa could crumble.
The Loftus Versfeld, Pretoria, one of the venues of international rugby, a fortress for the Springboks. Wales have been hammered here, and now they're on the back foot, and the rolling maul gets closer, and Mbonambi's there, and South Africa hit back. They close that gap, and 14-man Wales concede the first try of the game, and we've played 46 minutes of the second half. Bongi Mbonambi with a touchdown. It's South Africa 8, Wales 18.
Yeah, very patient by South Africa then. They held at the back, they got themselves set, and you know, they knew what they were doing. They didn't panic. De Klerk come running in, but they managed to shear through Wales, and yeah, it was a clear-cut try. And again, that was just what Wales didn't want. You know, they've been doing superbly well. They just had to weather that storm, and again, a few mistakes by us, a few turnovers that have given them that position, and it could have been avoided. But a well-taken try by South Africa. Wales have really got to dig in. They've got a minute and a half or so of the yellow card still to play, but South Africa seem to be, you know, they've clawed themselves back in this game one step.
And that probably gives you an indication of where South Africa are going to play. It's not happening in the backs for South Africa. We know South Africa got a 6-2 split on the bench, so they've got some pretty powerful forwards to come on, and I think you're going to see a few more driving mauls, keeping it tight from South Africa, because at the moment there's no shape elsewhere for them.
The important thing is just trying not to give them that position, not to give them, you know, the more 5-10 metre line-outs you have to defend, you know, the more it saps you, and the more, you know, the more it takes the energy out of a performance where they've been working so hard to get where they are now as well. So you know, that game management is so important.
Damian Van Amster has taken the full minute allocated to him for this conversion. It's worked in his favour. South Africa up to 10, 18-10, but he's killed a minute of the yellow card, and 15 seconds remain for Dan Biggar, so once the ball is out of play, Wales will be back to 15. It's 18 points to 10, 33 minutes left of the second half in Pretoria, and no doubt Mbonambi's try was as clean as could be. Wales, well, they knew they had a tough afternoon. They knew it was going to be a hard challenge, and Dan Biggar returns and gives this one some height. But speaking of height, De Jager is through, and he's got Koch alongside him, and Colby. Oh, De Jager ignored Colby, and Colby could well have been away, but South Africa have their tails up. They're charging in midfield as well. Forwards looking strong and powerful. Willemse goes for the up and under, but Pimpy gives chase. Biggar is there. Biggar and Liam Williams been perfect in the ball. But a penalty against Dan Biggar, holding on at the deck, and South Africa are turning this match around. And Lukhanyo Am, who's there, the talented centre, outstanding rugby player, and talk about a momentum shift.
Yeah, and is that maul try going to be the turning point for South Africa? All of a sudden you can hear the crowd that we didn't hear in the first half.
It's just giving the crowd that little bit of life, and it's our mistakes. We could quell, we could neutralise all this at the minute. We're almost letting them back into the game a little bit. We really need to sort of, and we've been very good at times. You know, we just need to hold that line and keep that standard as high as we can.
49 minutes. South Africa. I mentioned Vincent Koch was on. They've changed the whole front row. So Malcolm Marx is on.
Now that's it. You know,
kicked off. And Koch, and now Thomas Francis will come on for Wales.
Well, go back, please. Wales.
So, with Francis on the field, there's a scrummaging prop there, but South Africa have showed their hand, and now they go for the rolling maul again, and they're in Wales's 22. This game has been transformed. We knew that the Boks would come out fighting in the second half. Malcolm Marx at the back of the rolling maul, peels away, tackled on his ankles by Reffel. Will Rowlands tries to steal the ball. De Jager tackled by Ryan Elias. South Africa in Wales at 22. They trail by 8. Francis was offside and he's down as well, taking a knock to the head. Willie LaRue, Colby into Liam Williams. Doesn't look good for Thomas Francis, who took a big blow to his head, and he was penalised. So we'll pause for the time being. Liam Williams at De Klerk.
No.
Get involved with a bit of afters. With 50 minutes on the clock, Wales on the back foot. First things first, fingers crossed that Thomas Francis is okay, because he stayed down for a few seconds there, didn't he?
Yeah, it looked quite ominous actually. He was quite flat. Maybe because he was trying to disguise the penalty that he looked to have given away, and he just sort of stayed down on it, but as a reaction. But yeah, fingers crossed for them. Obviously, after his head knock that he had last year, it's hopefully there's not a weakness there.
Yeah, we saw a bit of that against England in the Six Nations, didn't we? And yeah, we're looking at the pictures. Doesn't look good. I don't think we're going to see Tom Francis back on the field.
It looks like he's caught Kitshoff's knee on the side. He's got to cross him, and he's caught his quad has absolutely slapped Francis on the right side of his temple.
So Thomas Francis is conscious and on his back. He's receiving treatment from the medical officers. There's a slight concern here.
Well, I don't think there is a concern. I think the way the concussion protocols are there, he's had a knock to the head. He's shown concussion symptoms there. I don't even think it's a HIA. I think that's his game over.
He's got to go off, and that's it. Yeah.
That's time up. And I think that is the mistake that Wales probably made last year when they kept him on in that game, and a lot of controversy around it. So,
big moment for Eric Lowe. He becomes a Springbok international onto the field, as is Kawacha Smith. Dylan Lewis's day is done. Well, sorry, Dylan Lewis is back onto the field because Thomas Francis was on for a minute or so. So many changes to South Africa. They've emptied the bench, haven't they? Kolisi's off, Moster's off, Lowe is on the field. Kawacha Smith, who's a real dynamo of a back row at 5'11". But for the time being, we pause because we hope and we cross our fingers that Thomas Francis is okay.
13. Can you confirm the captain for South Africa?
So if you're just joining us, it's Ian Goff, James Hook and Gareth Rhys-Owen, BBC Radio Wales. South Africa 10, Wales 18. 2 tries in the first half for Lewis Rhys-Samet. Then the box hit back at the beginning of the second half through Mbonambi. Alun Wyn Jones on for Wales. It's a 23-man game these days. Dewi Lake on for Francis. Benches have been emptied. They've dug into their reserves early, boys.
Yeah, we saw the look of worry with Dylan Lewis walking back on, realising he's got to do 80 minutes at altitude.
He didn't have a chance to get the sweets in and put his tracksuit top on, did he? He was back on, but you know, it was a nasty collision with Francis there. He just got caught across the tackle and caught the full force of Kitshoff's. It looked above his knee, but his quad just really sort of slapped him in the side. So again, he's being stretchered. So hopefully he's okay. But again, emptying his bench, I think it's a massive chance for Wales still. I know South Africa have clawed their way back in, but on the back of us, we need a sort of really sort of step forward from where we are, because this game is still for the taking for us.
You asked that Welsh team at 50 minutes, 18-10 in the lead, would they take that all day long? 100%.
Voice of James Hook. Played South Africa 10 times, 10 defeats. What side of music?
I don't think I'm far off that myself. I'm not sure if they've done the stats on me, but I don't think I ever had a victory against South Africa.
Well, we'll concentrate on your debut, though, Ian, isn't it? Yeah. Ian unfortunately made his debut in Pretoria when the Box won by 98 points to 13.
96. Come on, calm down.
Sorry, 96 points to 13. Yeah, wasn't that embarrassing, was it?
Stop exaggerating.
So of the three of us, only one of us is undefeated against the Box then, yeah?
By default of not actually playing against them.
Don't worry about semantics here, yeah? Don't worry about semantics here. We're seeing the changes for the Springboks. Jesper Wiese is on the field and still on the field wearing 8, and it goes without saying these guys are just big, gruesome men, and fingers crossed for Thomas Francis. He's in a neck brace, looks in some real discomfort. He gets the applause from Loftus Versfeld crowd, and we're keeping everything crossed for Thomas Francis, because that really is not a pleasant sight to see him leaving the field the way he does. Another penalty against Wales. We can reset, rejoin this game. Alun Wyn Jones is on to inspire. Dylan Lewis now has to play an 80 minutes test match as a tight end. all hands to the pump. Wales are looking to survive. Wales are looking to create history.
This ball is not coming out of there.
But this rolling maul edges closer and closer, and the roar tells you everything. Another rolling maul try for South Africa. They've gone back to what they're good at: power, strength, organisation, and Malcolm Marx replaces Bongi Mbonambi, and it's another try for the hooker at the back of the rolling maul. 2 gets the try, but it's an 8-man try once again, and South Africa are right back in this game.
It's almost a carbon copy of that last try. Patient, they took their time, they actually, it was a better, a more controlled try there. They actually broke off on the side, but they committed all those Welsh forwards in to stop that initial drive. They were so tight and set up on it, and they broke off, and it was only Kieran Hardy trying to stop the inevitable. But you go, very clinical by South Africa. Wales have got to stop this. This is a man test now. This is something you do on the training field time after time, and you can't give them, you can't give them a try every time they get a 5 or 6 metre line out. You've got to find a way of getting in amongst it and sacking it and dropping it and then defending off. But very clinical by South Africa, very well taken. But Wales need to be better in that area from now on.
It's difficult to stop South Africa when they get in that position, the driving ball, but they've got to stop giving South Africa opportunities in that position. I think Wales will be frustrated from the first try, straight from the kick-off. De Jager makes a 50-metre break, and it gives them the opportunity in Wales' 22.
Willemse, who deputises at 10 after Yankees' his poor first half showing, with his second kick has an opportunity to add the conversion. Takes his time, strikes it well, but he just pulled it a little bit. So it's a 3-point game here. We played 52 minutes, Wales 18, South Africa 15.
Yeah, and the difference being that snap, that fantastic snap drop goal by Dan Biggar from good distance with no time to think about it, and just by TMO crept over the post. So it's game on.
Looking forward to seeing Elliot Lowe as a Springbok. Sparkled and shone. Big hit from Rhys Carré, and latching. This time it's South Africa who penalised. Thomas Williams is on, as is Rhys Carré and Dewi Lake, and we've seen Wales be penalised twice for that, and the South African forwards are penalised, and surely Wales now go for the post, do they?
You would think. I was worried to start with that. The tackle that came in was a no-arm tackle. As soon as the whistle went, I went, oh no, please don't be because it'd be a yellow-red straight away. So thankfully it wasn't, and it was an indiscretion on South Africa's side. But yes, for the post, we need to keep that ticking over. We need to get the positives back on our side. We've had a little bit of a lean patch.
Dan Biggar there, just interestingly, I think cast your minds back to England at the Principality Stadium last year, when Dan Biggar never signalled that he was going for the posts and went for the crossfield kick. He did the exact same thing, where he walked up towards the ball. His body language indicated that he was going to go for the post, didn't say anything to the referee, looked up, saw that the Springbok defence was covering, and then just pointed the posts. Dan Biggar.
Yeah, he's clever, he's always aware, he's always looking what's around, just keeping defences on their toes, but I think he's always going to go for the 3 points there. It's his bread and butter for Biggar.
Big kick for Dan Biggar. Wales need it. Wales get it. It's a 6-point lead. Nervous times. We edge ever closer to the final quarter in South Africa. Wales have been here before. They've seen the show in South Africa, and in the past they've hit the rocks. Can they get there? Can they get there? Faletau gives the call that it's my restart, and his footwork just dances past Kitsoff, and Dewi Lake says, yeah, you can have the ball.
He's carried so well off those kickoffs, Faletau. He's unbelievable.
He's such a good rugby player, isn't he? Colby from the restart from Thomas Williams, went up and under. Dan Lydiate still on the field, putting a shift in, up and under.
All good, yeah, hold on.
Lands in the hands of Colby, and Wales were just caught napping there because the kick was high, it was misplaced, but the Welsh players didn't grab it. Willie le Roux. In midfield is Etzebeth, the giant that is Evan Etzebeth. Crossfield kick from de Klerk. Ball beats Liam Williams, who sort of nonchalantly crabs across the field, and he's hoping that he will beat everybody, and just trickles over the dead ball line, and de Klerk looks up with a degree of regret because that kick was just slightly too heavy. And
sorry, 22.
It's a 22 as opposed to a drop goal restart from their own try line. Mapimpi, does he lift the field? Because I don't think I've mentioned him once.
No, he looked like he was limping then as well, I think. He was going past, but that was, it was cool play by Liam Williams because he was breathing down his throat, and he just an extra second or so to let it roll over, and his one eye looking one way and the other, and then looking at the ball just in case. But he held his nerve, a poker player under pressure.
Rhys Carré is on. He won't necessarily have the happiest of memories coming on as a substitute against South Africa. His penalty, of course, that led to the crucial opportunity for Andre Pollard to kick the winning kick in Yokohama 3 years ago. Wales were that close to the World Cup final, and they're pretty close here to a momentous victory, but 23 minutes from 80 feels like a long way away. They were up by 18 points to 3. It's 21-15, bigger. Nick Tompkins, this is the man we want to see ball in hand. Lewis Rees-Zammit gives a little chip. le Roux, uncertain, lets it bounce. le Roux playing with fire. le Roux is gathered by 3 Welsh players right next to his own try line. De Klerk has to tidy up le Roux. le Roux really is one of those players, isn't he? He is Marmite. And the forwards are forced to tidy up his mess. De Klerk looks up on his own try line, goes for the clearing kick, finds touch. 22 opportunity for Wales. We'll pause for a water break as we approach the 60-minute mark, and that was the most positive period of play for Wales, the second half. That's how much pressure they've been under.
Yeah, I think so. And it looked a bit of a nothing kick from Zammit there, but le Roux let the ball bounce, and then Thomas Williams, Tompkins and Zammit all put in pressure on him, and it forced Faf de Klerk to kick the ball out on the 22, and that's what Wales need to keep doing now. This last 20 minutes, keep putting the pressure, play in the right areas. You've got Dan Biggett who can kick the points. You've got the experience of Alun Wyn Jones on the pitch now. Obviously South Africa without the recognised 10. Faf de Klerk is trying to take a little bit too much on, probably by himself, because he knows there's no recognised 10 outside him. We're in for a great 20 minutes, boys.
It's yeah, buckle up, Buttercup, isn't it? This is all going down, and you know, there's not been a great deal of phase play. We haven't seen a great deal of open rugby either, but it's tense. It's a proper tense smash here, where you know they're still sizing each other up. It's not free-flowing rugby by any means. I think that was the first couple of phases Wales have had in a while, but you know, it's just a measure of how this test match is and what's going to break it.
Cameras focus on Lewis Rees-Zammit. His 2 tries, the difference in the first half. Alun Wyn Jones, front ball, old school, low and hard. And Wyn Jones screams towards his teammates, we're getting ever closer to the touchline. And they went over the touchline. And that's a basic error on the opponent's 22. And Alun Wyn Jones was telling the boys, careful, careful, careful. And a stray boot just crept over the white line. Might well have been Tommy Reffel. It was Dylan Lewis. Well, I would say crept over. He just
very subtly crept over, that was. Yeah.
Well, closing the gap, coming in.
Could have had a picnic there. Kawacha Smith takes a free kick quickly. He's into Dan Lydiate, who's not gone backwards in a tackle yet.
That was a good tackle, fair play to him. But we can't keep giving South Africa this much ball with mistakes and errors.
Right, talking of errors, that's out in the full from Faf de Klerk. I've seen de Klerk have better games as well, fair to say, James.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned just now, he's taken a lot on himself, and his kicks are not as accurate as they probably usually are, and this will suit Wales down to the ground. Errors from experienced players like de Klerk. You saw Kwagga Smith then taking a quick tap, trying to inject a little bit of tempo into South Africa, because that's what they need.
Wales front ball to Faletau. Esteves got a hold of him, and then he's got his body the wrong way, and Faletau gets to the ground, but it's slow, laboured possession for Wales. BBC Radio Wales, 60 minutes played. Wales with the lead in Pretoria. Flat ball to Reffel, making his international debut. Nick Tompkins, who's been diligent with his play today. Nothing special. Up and under from Dan Biggar. Giving chase is Louis Rees-Zammit. Where's the ball? Straight in the hands of Willy le Roux. Excellent take by him. Back on his feet as well. De Klerk. Round the corner comes Wiese. Big, strong man. The Leicester Tigers, number 8. South Africa was possession in their own half. Wales happy with this. They've barely been in South African territory. De Klerk to le Roux. Looks potentially like le Roux and Willemse have switched positions. Here's Louis Rees-Zammit, ball in hand, like we like to see him. Passes one, gets it away. Thomas Williams, ball in one hand. He looks for support, doesn't find it, gets it away to Tompkins. Dylan Lewis, Alun Wyn Jones, it's on here for Wales. Will Rowlands in space, he's got players outside him, needs to look for the players. He had Liam Williams screaming for it. Dan Lydiard has to tidy up, messy ball at the back of the 22. Wales approaching South Africa's red zone. Dylan Lewis, ball in hand, best passage of play. How much will we regret the fact that Rowlands didn't look to pass? Dewi Lake waits for it. Lake head down, supported by Carey. Momentum's been lost a little bit. Williams knows this, chip kick. Liam Williams gives chase, and it's well taken by De Klerk. But advantage was being played. Oh, that was close, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought, why is he chipping it there? And I didn't see that advantage being played, but it was just a sort of to get the decision there, and that was a good period of play by Wales. That's the phases that I said had been lacking in this game. All of a sudden, was starting to happen. It is the most positive period of play with Wales, with possession and continuity so far.
Yeah, that's a massive penalty. Obviously, Biggar's going to attempt to knock this over, take Wales 2 scores clear, and put the pressure back on South Africa again.
6-point game. 18 minutes left on the clock. I'm not saying it would have been 7 if Will Rowlands had passed, but he had Liam Williams and Josh Adams outside him. And he just lost a little bit of composure. His body angles was the wrong way. He couldn't force the pass out on the left-hand side. And Wales may have to settle for 3.
There was cover coming across, but you'd want the ball in the hands of those two, wouldn't you? One of those two to create something. But Will Rowlands, he's had a good game. He was my player of the Six Nations. I think he carried so much ball, and he's slotted into that role. But I think Liam Williams, you might be buying a beer for them, because they'd have wanted that in their hands a lot. In their hands to start with. But
there are bucket hats to be seen at the Loftus Versfeld Stadium, and Dan Biggar looking for inspiration. He's been outstanding with the boot. He gets the applause from the Welshman and the Welsh supporters in the stadium, and the gap is 9, and Wales are creeping ever nearer to what would be a historic victory. 15 points to 24.
Well, the way South Africa playing, we just cannot give them driving lineouts in our 22.
Josh Navidi is on for Dan Lydiard, as is Owen Watkin. On for Josh Adams. Interesting. Navidi's not a bad sub to bring on here. You speak with the South Africans bringing on.
Yeah, not bound, play on, not bound. Shoulders not bound, play on.
Navidi forced to tidy up some messy play at the back of the ruck. That ball squirted out, and Dan Biggar forced to clear it with his left boot, and because of that he doesn't get much distance, and if anything it's in their own 22, and that was a very untidy passage of play from Wales, putting pressure on themselves. Navidi initially did the rescuing, and now it's Dan Biggar who just had to clear it anyhow, anyway.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it, Guy. That's where Wales have had a little bit of trouble, is their exits from 9 in their own 22 after kick-offs, going into the second and third test. Neil Jenkins and the coaching team will have to have a little look at that, but other than that, they've been absolutely fantastic.
Malcolm Marx to the lineup, who somehow Malcolm Marx is only 27. Seems to have been around for ages. Kawacha Smith rolls up in, crashes into Navidi. De Klerk has support. It's Erlich Low within a metre. Wales on the defence. Kitchoff, good tackle on him from Owen Watkin. Met the forward, front up, Visa, South Africa within a metre. Wales defending for their lives. He's within 50 centimetres of the try line. Big pile of bodies. Wayne Pivac's men forced to defend. Leroux, Willemse, men outside. De Allende with a grubber kick. Corby with a try. South Africa with their third. And the Loftus-Versfeld erupts. And they are not going away. And this is not going to be an easy opportunity for Wales to win in South Africa. They are going to have to fight all the way to the death, because the Springboks never know when to give up.
Yeah, a really good finish by South Africa, and really clever play actually. We all thought for all money South Africa were going to drive that line out. All the 8 forwards packed down, waiting for the drive. Kwagga Smith broke off, gave South Africa the momentum, and a little kick to the corner. Cheslin Kolbe doesn't turn those down.
Yeah, we all say worried about this driving line out. It seemed to be the only way South Africa are going to score, the way they're playing. They're not patching anything together very well so far in this game. And actually, you know, everyone's surprised the ball quickly out that line out and the break was made, and they actually showed they managed to keep the ball and get a bit of hands to it and ended off a really good try. It's something they haven't showed so far in this game, and they've shown it just at the right time to make it a what could be a very, very tight last 14-15 minutes.
This is a key conversion for Damien Willemse. The hardest possible kick for a right footer on the right touchline. He's patient with his approach. It's unlikely you'd have expected to have been in this position. The raw tells you that that's an outstanding kick, and it's a 2-point gap now. South Africa 22, Wales 24.
Yeah, the change of half time for South Africa, taken off the recognised 10. Helton Jantjies has paid. It's worked in their favour. And Willemse's gone well at 10. Slotted crucial kicks.
It was a good kick by Allende then as well, wasn't it? You know, weighted very well. Wales was short, trying to sort of blitz up and stop it, and that lovely little threader kick through around the back.
Wales are down to 14 men. Alun Jones is in the bench, in the bin. And we didn't see that, and that could be a crucial decision. Alun Jones sin-binned for persistent offence from Wales, and it's a tough ask now. 67 minutes on the clock, 14 men against a rampant Springbok side, led by Faf de Klerk. First test in South Africa. Alun Jones having a word with Paul Strigeon, the fitness coach. He's annoyed, frustrated, but he'll have to take his punishment.
Surprising to see a sin bin in when a try's occurred. You know, they've scored the try. Normally, you sort of get away with that unless it was something really blatant.
Messy line out works in Wales's favour because Nick Tompkins got hold of the ball and places it back. There'll be no Fijian rugby from Wales here.
Everyone, Wales, hold!
Bigger knows that. And on the halfway line, he puts the up and under. 24-22. Leroux competes. It was Louis Rees-Zammit who won that competition, but somehow the ball ended up in Vincent Koch's hands. South Africa, exactly where Wales want them to be. 2 points down, and just outside their own 22. De Klerk, who's had a mixed bag of an evening. That's not the best of kicks either, because it just doesn't get any distance. But it could land in South African hands. Indeed it does. De Allende. Pretoria awakens. He just gives it welly in the altitude. It sails and it soars, but does it go too far? George North hopes so. Oh. And George North was hoping to see the ball carry over the dead ball line. Colby put pressure on him, and eventually North had little option other than to dab it down, and Wales will just have to clear with a drop goal from underneath their own posts. And Colby's unhappy. That bounce just wouldn't get over the dead ball line, wouldn't it?
It was how Liam Williams sort of ghosted across, but the rugby ball, being a rugby ball, held up then and put the fear into George North, and I think give Colby a little push, and he thought it was damn bigger, and almost started a little bit of a handbag war going on.
Solomon Morat is on for his first Springbok cap. Big moment in that game. If that ball goes over the dead ball line, we go back for a scrum. That's a 70-metre gain for Wales. Now Biggar has to do the same thing with a dropper. He's given it somewhere, Lee. Willemse looks up, goes on the charge himself, up to the 10-yard line. Will Rowlands with a tackle, marks, LaRue. South Africa looking to give it some width. They give it some. Kawaja Smith, tackled by Faletau. Faletau still on the field, as is Will Rowlands, as is Dylan Lewis, who's fought to come back on for Thomas Francis. There are tired bodies out there for Wales. They'll have to work for another hour. They've been here before, but so often the Springboks know how to win. Erlich Low in his first test for South Africa. This looks inevitable. There's real pressure on the red defence. LaRue, who is playing at 10 now. Dewi Lake tries to steal the ball. Faletau rolls up again, up slowly. Am has Mapimpi outside him. Mapimpi, was that pass forward? It was indeed. Whoa, that was so close. That was so close. Touch and go. And Lucanio Am and Makazole Mapimpi, who's had very little to do, ball in hand, combined in the near touchline. And yes, it was forward.
Yeah, definitely forward. Zammit did really well, actually. They need to get to the bootstraps of Am just to force him off balance. And then he give the forward pass, but this is going to be a tough 10 minutes for Wales. You can see the front five in particular are out on their feet, Wales. They're cramping. There's fatigue in the legs. We're watching Tommy Raffaele having a bit of treatment. He's had a fantastic 70 minutes so far.
Raffles got cramped. Louis Rees-Zammit looks okay. He'll be pretty tired. He had 2 tries early in the game. You have 9 minutes left on BBC Radio Wales Sport, and Wales lead by 2 points, having never won, not only in Pretoria, having never won in South Africa. Full stop.
South Africa are building now, and you can say it's quite ominous, but we need some big moments. Now, having Alan Wynne in the bench, we've been down to 14 men for, it'll be 20 minutes in this game, 14 men out in the first test at altitude. It's, to win these games away, you need to hit these big moments. Now, have we got those big moments in this last part of the game? Can we nail those couple of turnovers? Like we saw 1 or 2 in that first half. Can we nail, force South Africa to making some mistakes and latch on and be clinical and latch on to a bit of possession of territory and get the penalty or get another try like that. It's all there in the balance. It's all there for us. It's just we've got to make it happen. That's how these big test matches, when you haven't won away, you haven't won in this country, that's how you win, by nailing big moments. Who can do it?
Herschel Jantjies is on for Faf de Klerk for the final 9 minutes of this test match. Wales ahead in Pretoria. Loftus Versfeld, where back in 1998 South Africa scored 96 points. Complete and utter humiliation.
Yeah, and Herschel Jantjies come on for Faf de Klerk. He'll inject some pace into this game for South Africa. Watching Faf de Klerk walk off, a little bit off colour by his standards today.
Interesting that Faletau has to go in as lock here, and that means that Josh Navidi plays 8. Owen Watkin at blindside flanker. Let's see what Watkin's scrummaging style like. Is he Johnny May?
I hope not.
Or is he Ian Goff?
How long's left on the yellow card? Do we know how long's left on it? Because this is crucial.
6 minutes.
Yeah,
it's still a long time.
Dylan Lewis under pressure. Wales under pressure, the scrum going backwards. Somehow Williams got it away and he just flung it towards Nick Tompkins, who's been rock solid. That ball spilled forward, I'm sure it was. And South Africa swarmed the breakdown, but Wales got away with it. And Dewi Lake screams for support because Wales are in their own 22, disorganised. Bigger takes responsibility, whacks it away, gives it some welly, gives it some distance. That's an outstanding clearance, but Mapimpi takes it quickly. Willie LaRue, Cheslin Colby, tired defenders all round. As Colby likes it, looks left, looks right, Colby's away, Colby dances past one, past two, then he's tackled somehow by Thomas Williams, but he's up to the 22. South Africa on the front foot, Willemse, forwards combining with backs, now they go down to Willemse again, breaks through, he's got LaRue, LaRue has support, outstanding tackle somehow by Louis Rees-Zammit, he's back on his feet as well. Louis Rees-Zammit with a try-saving tackle, but he's going to get penalised. He may well go in the bin. And Dylan Lewis comes round. Yankees with a pass. Surely the try's there. Is held up. Miraculous defence by George North. The referee's on the floor. Complete confusion everywhere. There'll be a penalty, surely, for South Africa. That was held up. The question will be, will there be another yellow card? Or is there a try? Liam Williams getting involved with Willemse. The cowbell rings, which is such a distracting presence. But we'll ask first up, as Lukhanyo Am asks, is there a try given? Andrew Pirardi, the assistant referee here.
I guess, Joy, do you hear me?
So no try, advantage being played.
I got a cynical penalty here by Wales. I just need to confirm the number.
Okay,
it looks like another yellow coming here for Wales.
The number is number 14, red.
Zammit
14, red.
Is number 14,
you must
red.
stop it now. Next time I'm going to see you, it's going to be escalation. It's a cynical penalty by number 14 by yourself.
That's really lucky for Wales. That's very lucky, isn't it, James?
14.
He bit at the ball, didn't he? He bit at it, and it's on the fringe of legality, 14. And you know he's got the benefit of the doubt there, 14. Isn't he?
Yeah, he may still give the yellow here.
Come here.
It was a try-saving tackle.
Yeah.
With a question.
Yeah, he's going to his pocket.
No clear release, cynical.
And that's true. You know, it was right on the try line. And again,
no, it's a penalty. It's a penalty.
And Wales are down to 13 men.
Just a penalty, yes.
Bigger thought it was a penalty try, but it's 13 men. Wales having to defend for 6.5 minutes in Pretoria. Brilliant tackle by Louis Rees-Zammit. Did the hard work, got back on his feet, tried to steal the ball, and then just stayed there. And if he was going to stay there without releasing, he was going to get penalised.
Yeah.
He shakes his head, throws his gum shield in disgust. But despite scoring 2 tries, Louis Rees-Zammit will end this match on the bench. And surely 13 against 15 is just too much for Wales. And South Africa should get the victory.
Yeah, they haven't scored yet, but Wales, yeah, as you say, they're under extreme pressure now. 13 men, 15 men against South Africa in this situation is difficult enough. It does look ominous.
We've been here before. South Africa have scored 2 from a driving maul already. Malcolm Marx hits his marker, gets the ball back, sticks his head at the back of the rolling maul. Marx looking for his second, South Africa looking for the 4th. A try that could seal it. Backs combine, they're all flowing into the rolling maul. Wales try their very best to stop it. It's sacked down, but the referee gives a penalty try. A referee gives the penalty try. Heart-wrenching stuff in Pretoria. But 2 yellow cards and an inability to stop the rolling maul. And Wales, once again, may well be getting shipwrecked right near the shore. No need for the conversion either. Just 29-24. How do you win this one with 13 players?
17.
Yeah, it would be miraculous, wouldn't it? would be miraculous. But we have scored opportunist tries in this game. It can happen, but
it's a penalty try, has to be a yellow card.
And another yellow card, so 12 men.
Right, you have to give a yellow card. You have to give a yellow card if it's a penalty try.
Yes.
That's inevitable. So Wales now down to 12. As the rules say that, sadly for Rhys Carrey, if you give a penalty try, someone has to go in the bin.
It's how could you single out that one person? There's a hell of a bit of officiating to single him out in that melee.
Knocked on Owen Watkin. This would be the miracle to end all miracles. Wales have 12. Nick Tompkins gets the ball. He's got no support. There's nobody there, and now Dylan Lewis gets the ball. And there's a penalty coming for Wales. No, surely not.
12-man maul.
12-man maul. You go for the corner, and this is it.
What decision do you make? Down to 12 men. When was the last time Wales have been down to 12 men? I can't remember the last time 3 men in the bin at the same time.
Biggar didn't quite get enough purchase on it. He's gone for the corner. 4.5 minutes left to be played in South Africa. Wales are down to 12. We think they're around 2 minutes left of Alun Jones, his penalty, and they have an opportunity to go for the rolling maul. You have to just go for it here, do you? And just know that if you get turned over, you're conceding a try, yeah?
It's all bust, isn't it? It's
a last chance. Last chance.
You've got to go for it. You've got to go for it. Is Alan Wynne back on?
No,
Has
he's
he
not.
served it? He hasn't served it
Not
yet.
yet.
Because that would be something.
Okay. If you're just joining us on BBC Radio Wales, we're in the bizarrest of situations. Wales have Alun Jones back on the field. 13 men. Rolling maul with Dewi Lake. Wales getting ever closer. South Africa have done it twice to Wales. Can Wales do it again? Dewi Lake! He's there! Dewi Lake gets the touchdown! 13 men in Pretoria, and Wales are back level, and now it's down to Dan Biggar. I don't believe it! I don't believe it! They went for the corner. Dewi Lake got the touchdown, and now it could well be down to Dan Biggar to take Wales to a momentous, historic victory in Pretoria.
What a turnaround this test match. What a test match we've had here for absolute drama. That's a great try. That's a great try. Down to 13 men. Alun Wynne just back on the field, thank God. And what a well-taken try. This test match is incredible.
Boos around the Loftus Versfeld. Dan Biggar. He's seen so much throughout this career, but this is a career-defining moment. Biggar pulls it. Oh, he's missed. It's 29 apiece at the crucial moment. Dan Biggar was inches away, and surely Wales now would settle for a draw because they have 2.5 minutes left to survive in Pretoria. Dewi Lake with a try. It's 29 points apiece. Unsurprisingly, South Africa go for a competing restart, and Alun Jones is there, but Colby tried to get involved. 2 minutes left on the clock. Thomas Williams, he has 12 of the teammates alongside him. If Wales get a draw here, it'll be more than satisfactory. Will Rowlands hits the deck. They have 2 minutes to survive. 2 minutes feels like a lifetime.
And 9, use it, you got a ball.
And Williams, is he going to clear this away?
Yeah, they need to get into South Africa territory now. Get deep down into South Africa territory.
Hand the possession over to South Africa. Good hit. George North and Josh Navidi force him over the touchline, but Colby keeps the ball alive. Dangerous play here for Wales. 13 men in defence. Koch with possession on the halfway line. Danger signs all around. Surely South Africa will give it width. Willemse, De Allende, grab a kick, right decision, perhaps not. Ball beats everybody, and Wales can breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, definitely the wrong decision from De Allende there. The crowd were willing him to keep it in hand, but Wales would be more than happy with that. Wales down to 13 men. You'd expect an experienced player like De Allende to keep that in hand, but like I say, that will suit Wales. And perhaps one more opportunity for Wales to try and sneak a penalty, and Biggar can kick it from 50-55 metres at this altitude.
That's the gutsy, to push for this penalty, or do you just run the clock out and be happy with the draw?
Go for it.
Again, I go for it. I know, I love the way you used to play hooky. That's exactly how you used to grab it by the throat. But from inside our own half.
Half a minute, 29 all.
I'll finish.
Surely a draw will feel like a victory. 29 seconds left on the clock. Thomas Williams looks up to the scoreboard, notices that, but he's going to give South Africa one more shot at it. Big call from Thomas Williams. Gives it some real distance. Willie le Roux, one last counter-attack. Hitch step from le Roux to Allende, to Colby. He's a danger man. Arm outside him, arm against North. Arm turns North inside and out. North is still there, however, but he's up to the 22. South Africa to win the game. De Allende, hooter sounds. This will be the final play. Wales give possession back. Will they be punished for it? Yankees, they've never won in South Africa, but a draw will feel like a victory. 13 men defending. Now they go back to the blind side. Morat, Valemsa in two mind. Nick Tompkins, who's been heroic defensively, and he tries to fight at the breakdown. Alun Wyn Jones, can he get the ball? Doesn't want to give a penalty. Right call from him. Still Wales defend. This would be so cruel if South Africa get a try, but they still have to keep working to Wayne Pivac's men. Le Roux to De Allende. Knock on, penalty. It's a penalty against Wales. Deliberate knock on given. And Khaleesi cannot believe what is playing out in front of him from the bench. And Wales are throwing it away. They're throwing it away in Pretoria. Deliberate knock on. And there's a kickable kick to win it, James.
Kick to win it, and we said Willemse. I think he's missed one kick since he's come on. He struck the ball really well.
It's Dan Biggar.
Dan Biggar's given the penalty away.
And it's a clear penalty.
It's a clear penalty, 100%. He hasn't made any attempt to catch the ball. He's got his hand in the passing lane.
Make sure you have 60
and we're sort of seeing pictures of Dan Biggar now. I think he's just nodded his head. I think he knows it, he realises it.
25 seconds after the game, Thomas Williams kicks the ball away. Is that the right call? You need one more phase.
Yeah, I think, he's playing down in South Africa territory, and I think South Africa have been the bravest. They've come back, they've played, and they've attacked Wales, and they've got the penalty that Wales probably wanted.
Oh, sorry, no, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. We got 25 seconds left. And the Gatland's era, when he first came, we play that ball for 2-3 minutes. We keep the ball. You're in charge of it. You've just given them a chance to win the game. I have to disagree with you on that. We had to keep the ball with 25 seconds to go.
Wales could have won it. They could have had the draw, but Willemse with a killer blow salutes the air. Loftus Versveld celebrates with ecstasy. South Africa have stolen the victory. Siya Kolisi knows this. Wales should have had so much more. They were heroic in defence. They were brave. They got themselves right back into the game. They simply had to survive for 30 seconds, and they didn't. And South Africa have won an enthralling test match, but they've taken the spoils, and it's heartbreak for Wales.
It's heartbreak, isn't it? I mean, where do you begin to sum up that game? What an extraordinary test match. What a way to begin this 3-match series in South Africa. And look at Dan Biggar there at the end there as he consoles his teammates and shakes hands with the Springboks players. We're seeing the winning penalty as well going through the posts, dead centre to win it for the Springboks. Absolute heartbreak for Wales and those supporters who've made the journey to the Southern Hemisphere, and they thought that they would be there to see history made, and they very nearly did. It would have been at least a draw maybe towards the end, but then Wales giving South Africa possession to give the home side the chance to kick for the win. And Wales will have to pick themselves up from this extraordinary opener for 2 more tests in Bloemfontein next Saturday, and then the 3rd test in Cape Town in a fortnight's time. Wales and South Africa exchange post-match handshakes and hugs. They look dejected. You would expect them to be dejected. They came so close, James Hook and Ian Goff, to making history today. How are they going to be feeling?
Absolutely gutted, and that was a phenomenal effort. Nobody, players, supporters, expected a result like that. You know, they came so close and they were within seconds of winning it. And yeah, going back to your point, should they have kept it in hand? And you can sort of see what Thomas Williams is thinking. They're down to 13 men. If they go a couple of phases, South Africa are so ferocious at the breakdown, they're going to give a penalty away anyway. So Thomas Williams is thinking kick it long, back the defence. But obviously the defence didn't show up. South Africa go on the attack and then they give the penalty away anyway. So it's going to be tough viewing on Monday morning for the boys and the supporters. But yeah, you know, let's go back. It's a fantastic effort from Wales. Nobody expected that, and they were that close to winning.
Just didn't expect to feel emotions like that throughout that Test match, did we? Because there's been a lot of, you know, pessimism going into it. A lot of Welsh fans not giving their own side much hope, and were perhaps thinking that the Springboks would sort of win it quite comfortably. But actually, the sort of feelings that you're feeling are sort of, well, we could see history here. We could be winning this game. We've just got to hold on, manage the game properly, Ian. Well, ultimately, it's about how they manage that game.
Well, we've snatched defeat from the claws of victory, basically, haven't we? And I remember we played Australia away, and our best chance of beating Australia away, and I think it was Gareth Cooper maybe missed touch, and they went 15 phases and scored under the post and robbed us of a victory we should have had there. And I believe, you know, we should have won the draw. Okay, we could have got the draw in the end, but we should have won that game. You know, as poor as I've ever seen South Africa in a while, they clammed up in that, but yeah, and we made the most of it. You know, we opportunists, we took tries when they were on offer. We got back in the game with that fantastic driving line-out try. We were men in the bin, and we kicked the ball to them. Like, we had control of that ball with 25 seconds to go. We had men in the bin. You know, you put every man around that ball and you work that game out for 25 seconds. That's not long. That's stuff you do on the training pitch for this. But I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for the boys. They put such an effort into that game, and you know, and we could have won it. You know, when they go over the analysis, it will be a tough game to analyse, because they'll just look at it being absolutely gutted, thinking we had that game. We were in control of instances in that game, and we could have taken it. So I'm gutted for the boys. I'm absolutely sat here devastated. I can't imagine how they're feeling. But you know, it's absolute desolate for the boys there. That could have been a famous win. And you know, there was effort in abundance here, and you know, just missed the mark on certain things, which we'll go through an analysis for the week. But yeah, absolutely devastated. You know, that was a superb Test match.
Yeah. It was there for them, and that was Wales' best chance of winning the game. I think it's the best chance they're going to have in this series. I think South Africa are going to get better. South Africa are not going to play as poorly as they played today. I think that's for certain. They're probably going to have Pollard come back in to control things at number 10 for South Africa. So, yeah, that's really tough for Wales to take.
It's going to be really interesting to hear from Dan Biggar post-match. He's obliged to do those interviews. He is the skipper. I would imagine with most players in that situation right now, you'd probably shield him and not put him in front of media, because there are three big things that happened right at the end of that game. So he misses the conversion.
Yep.
It's not, you know, it's not an easy conversion. It's not like the kick that Willemse kicked.
No.
It's from the wrong angle, but Dan Biggar would expect to get that conversion, wouldn't he? Fair enough.
Oh, he's kicked like a dream all game.
So he misses the conversion. Then it's not his call, but Thomas Williams boots it away. Presumably he would have had a say in that, wouldn't he?
You would as a 10. You would as a 10.
So a 10 and a 9, there's communications between him. So there's that call. So there's the mismanagement somehow. So, you know, arguably does Dan Biggar throw Thomas Williams under the bus by saying, oh, do you take responsibility and say, you know, I kicked it away, and then there's the deliberate knock on that gives away the final penalty.
Do you think they'll keep him away from it then? You know how emotional he was after the Italy loss.
But he's the captain, so
he'll front up. He'll front up and he'll take it on the chin.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm sure he will. Yeah. But you know, I'm not even putting blame on Dan Biggar, but he's involved in three big plays in that final 2 minutes, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a 100 cap. You know, Welsh legend. Let's be honest, a Welsh legend. But it wasn't just that. And again, that epitomised it at the end. That was the cream on the top, if you want. But there were so many instances in that game that, you know, little mistakes that we made, little bits of game management that we didn't complete, and exits we didn't complete. That it didn't have to come down to that. But even with 25 seconds to go, game management wise, we were in control of the ball with 25 seconds to go, and wrong decisions were made. So again, it'll be a very tough analysis. But again, you can't fault the effort effort of the players. It's just some of the accuracy that was out there. But I say I'm devastated here talking about it, so I can't imagine how they feel. And I hope Dan has had a chance just to take a few deep breaths before, because he can be too harsh on himself as well.
They've given the man of the match to Jasper Wiese. We will hopefully bring you some reaction here on Radio Wales from the Wales camp before we go off air. If we can't manage to do that, there'll be plenty on the BBC Sport website and via our social media feeds as well. And you made the point there, James, about maybe this was the best opportunity. They had that bar of soap was in their hand. They just had to hold on to it, but they've let it slip out. So they might know deep down that was their best opportunity of getting a first ever win in South Africa.
100%. Best opportunity they've had for a number of years and probably will have. I think that's going to give them a heck of a lot of confidence. Let's make no mistake there. And I think they've written a few wrongs from the Six Nations, the Italy game, and shown the character. But like I just said earlier, I can't see South Africa playing as badly as they did today.
That's the one thing I would push back at you with that, James. If you're South Africa, you're like, wow, brilliant. Like we've been terrible. We've been I mean, the first half they were abysmal, weren't they? And they've won. So like you've had your lessons, and you've still got the confidence to come back with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what world champions do, I suppose. They did it in the World Cup, won the World Cup in 2019. They were tested heavily against the Lions last summer and fronted up, and they know they're a team who know how to win. Albeit they were without a couple of their big names, and that's going to stand them in good stead for the World Cup next year.
Yeah, they've had a slap there, the Boks, haven't they? They played very poorly today. They didn't string things together. They've had a slap, and they've got away with it. It's daylight robbery really, and they have got away with that. And they won't make the same mistake again. So we have to up our game next week in Bloemfontein. We really need to up our game, because they're not going to be. The South Africa side in Bloemfontein won't be the South Africa side that played this game today.
I think there's an Australian ref for the second test next weekend, and then an English ref for the final test in Cape Town. A lot of fans on social media unhappy with the choice of ref today. The 27-year-old from Georgia. How do you think he did? I mean, it was chaotic towards the end, wasn't it? Did he make all the right calls?
I suppose
mistakes?
I suppose we'll have to look back over it again. But at first look, I think Wales had their fair share of penalties out of him as well. So it's difficult to say. And I suppose when you lose in that manner, it's very easy to blame the referee. But I got to be honest here, you'll have to look back over it and look at those decisions sort of meticulously.
We don't know how why Adam and Jones was penalised. We didn't see the incident,
no.
But the other ones were fair, weren't they?
They look to me.
I don't think we can lay blame at the ref here. I don't think. I think we were in control of large portions of that game, and errors we made. I think compounded mistakes that we made. Put them back in the game and allowed them to score their driving line outs, and allowed them to, allowed them possession and territory to manipulate us. But no, I don't think we could. If he made the odd couple of mistakes, the referee, he did. But in the balance of the game, it didn't seem, as we were watching it, that it was a contributing factor. We had the game in the grips, and that's what's so hard to take. We had that game in the grips, and we just had to see it out, and we just couldn't manage to see that out. And again, it's been snatched from us. So devastated.
What happens now ahead of the second test then in Bloemfontein next week? Also live here on Radio Wales. I mean, what does Pivac do for that one? Does he make changes? I mean, you had a strong bench today. We'll see how Thomas Francis is, because he went off with a neck brace. That was a worrying moment. Bring you an update on his fitness hopefully. But will there be changes? Should there be changes?
I think the team has started. We question probably the front row selection, whether Navidi should start. I think Lydiate performed fantastically well. He made so many tackles in that game. Tommy Reffel played really well. So I think the selection was right. Josh Adams went off. Whether he's injured or not, I think there'll be one or two changes, but I don't think there'll be too many. That was a brave effort from Wales, and they've got to go again next week. Lick their wounds, pick themselves up, and go again.
Dan Biggers being interviewed. We'll turn that around. We'll hopefully hear from him. The Wales captain in just a few moments. Before that, we saw the South African players saluting the home crowd. 52,000 fans inside the ground in Pretoria this evening. First time since 2019 they've had a full crowd cheering their players on. First time since the World Cup, and what a day it was for them in the end. But in terms of Wales, we talked before the game, Ian, about Wayne Pivac, and that he needs a win on this tour. The pressure on him ahead of the World Cup just over 12 months away. So where does this leave him.
Yeah, well, I think that performance today and the manner, sort of overcome the expectations of everybody else, because we were all expecting the first test that we were, a very motivated South Africa to come out and really sort of lay a marker down, and that didn't happen. But again, this is a tough one for confidence now. So you've got to do some special things in the week to get the guys to overcome such a, because it's going to be really emotional. The emotions the boys are going to be feeling from there. They're going to be down for days. It's going to take a big coaching effort from the whole management team to pick them back up from a game that they should have won, they could have won, and sort of get them to collect themselves for next week's performance as well. So again, we were expecting to win. That's a good performance, and you have 3 tests like that and you won't fault it. But
was it a good performance? I mean, they contained South Africa, didn't they?
Yeah, it was against a very poor South Africa. South Africa played very poorly, but you can only play what's in front of you, and we could have won that game, and I think we should have won that game in the end. And you can look back and you can analyse, umpteen things, a dozen plus things that we'd have nailed, and we'd have won that game by 5, 10, 15 points.
Yeah, I think looking back to that Italy game, we would have taken that for certain. And I know again, that guy was a good performance. We didn't really create anything by our design and attack. It was all from turnover. But we said before the game, every opportunity we've got to take. I think we took pretty much every opportunity, until that last conversion.
And the Will Rowlands one where he could have given outside. But
there were 1 or 2 opportunities,
but where's the 3 shots in there? And he took 2 of them.
Exactly. And I think it was all about the winning and putting a bit of pride back into the jersey. I think Wales definitely did that.
Just being drip-fed bits of the Dan Biggar interview, just the key points of what he said. Talked about discipline, very disappointed with themselves, let themselves down towards the end apparently. But they will take a lot of confidence from it, he said, going into the second test. But discipline is perhaps the thing that that people are talking about now on social media, isn't it? And the way that going down to 12 men at the end, giving themselves such a difficult. I know Alan Wynne came back on for the last couple of minutes, but even so, 15 against 13, you've got pretty much no chance, have you?
No, I think he's right. They'll take so much confidence from it, but I think immediately after the game they probably didn't expect the result to be as close as it was, so they'll be full of confidence. But I think when they wake up tomorrow morning and wake up Monday morning and review the game, they'll be kicking themselves. That was a golden opportunity for Wales to get the result in South Africa and create a little bit of history, and as the week goes on they'll be kicking themselves, that's for certain.
If you'd have said we're playing against the world champions with 12 men and we got 25 seconds from winning the game, you think you were stupid, especially coming into this series. We were down to 12 men. How can you beat the world champions? And we could have, down to 12 men on the pitch. It's insane, scoring a try with 13 men. It's and that's what I mean. We scored a try with 13 men. We just needed to hold the ball for 25 seconds with 13 men. So it's unbelievable that it wasn't 15-20 points when you had that many in the bin. So there's so many points to unpick from that game, which if nailed would have been would be a different story.
Just looking at the stats down the years, and we were hoping this sequence was coming to an end, these losing games against South Africa in South Africa. 64 was when they first toured there. They lost there 1995, 98, 02 twice, 04, 08 twice, 14 twice. We hope that 2022 was going to be the year where they chalked up the W, as they say, got their first win there. There'd only ever been 1 draw against South Africa in Cardiff back in 1970. For a few moments it looked like we were going to get another draw, and being so close to making history and not even getting the draw in the end, but losing it with that last minute penalty kick, last kick of the game. Emotionally picking yourselves up from this, that's the difficult thing. You would have been in that position, James, where you thought you were onto something and then it's snatched away from you. Emotionally picking yourself up for another game in 7 days' time.
Yeah, emotionally it'll be very tough, and I think physically as well. That would have taken it out to the players physically, the altitude and all that sort of thing. But they've got to pick themselves up. That's what summer tours. When you tour the Southern Hemisphere, that's what it's about. World Cups, it's huge emotion. You have big wins, big defeats, and it's on to the next game.
Because you were there, Curtly Beale's try when you were for Australia in 2012.
Yeah.
That was an absolute killer, wasn't it? But from memory, that was the end of the campaign, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
you know how they're feeling right now. Is that state dressing room just desolated?
Yes, it's full of all ranges of emotions. You got someone like Tommy Reffell, who's had his first cap. He's obviously thrilled to bits to have his first cap. Get to lose the game. You've got Dan Biggar who's given a penalty away, missed a conversion. There's emotions all over the place, like a roller coaster in the change room there. But they've got to pick themselves up, like you say, against Australia back in 2012. There was no game for a long time. They've got to pick themselves up for a big test match again in Bloemfontein next week.
Yeah, for sure, because you're going to face a different South African side. That South African side will be a lot more on point than it was today. So we've got to raise our game. You know, we've got to raise things, and there's plenty of things that we can work on in training this week that will, you know, the KPI side of things that were, you know, the stats were sort of very much slanted towards South Africa. There's lots of things we can work on, but we will face a much better South African side next week. So we know we've got to raise our game to face that South African side that we're going to face.
One of those stats, I think, was possession. 61% for Springboks, 39 for Wales. But it was the penalty count as well that you'd look at, wouldn't it? 15 penalties conceded by Wales.
There was, I think, first half alone, I think there was 15 missed tackles to 1. You know, we always, I think, with previous coaches, you know, you wanted to be above 90% sort of defence completion, and you know, even that, there's a lot of stats are told. But how we stayed in the game, again, down to 12 men, how we stayed in the game, how we were going into, 25 seconds to win that with those sort of stats and those sort of things against us is incredible. So there's lots of heart to take from that. It's just, emotionally picking yourself up from such a devastating sort of way to end it.
Looking at individuals, you touched briefly on Tommy Reffel, how he did. What about others coming back into the side today after 12 months out? Dan Lydiot, decent.
Yeah,
George North,
Dan Lydiot,
quietish.
Yeah, I think the backs from both teams were very quiet. You know, Colby got into the game a little bit towards the last 10-15 minutes, but I don't think Gareth mentioned his name before that. You know, the same for Josh Adams. Lewis Samit was the only back three player that we named the most, you know. But I think Lydiot got through a lot of work. I thought, like I say, Tommy Reffel went well. Faletau just looked comfortable every time he had the ball. Just looked so comfortable playing the game of rugby. And I think Kieran Hardy, I think there was probably question marks or questions asked, you know, why Thomas Williams wasn't starting. I thought his box kicking was fantastic. He controlled the game, and yeah, like you say, George North didn't really have a great deal to do. But I thought Wales in general, the defence was very good. We were up in South Africa's face. We were forcing, in particular, Yanties inside in the first half. But yeah, just couldn't get over the line in the end.
There's so many moments to look back on, aren't there, and unpick. And you know, Gareth, I suppose that one on 60 Minutes will be another one when Will Rowland broke through and he didn't look outside him. He had Liam Williams available, didn't he? But he looked inside, and you thought then was a moment. That was a moment. Josh Adams was there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it makes me think that historical runs are there for a reason. Teams do not win these games by chance, and you both have been in matches where you are clear favourites and you're playing against the underdog, and with 30 seconds left you're behind, but that confidence of knowing you're the better side puts you in a completely different place, and the nerves that the side that's fighting against not only the opposition but history, there's just a clamminess, and there's a reason why Wales haven't won for so long against South Africa. There's a reason why Wales couldn't win into that Twickenham for years, and eventually when they broke that, when you lift the monkey off your back, historically then it just becomes so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think we've seen that with South Africa down the years. We took a long time to beat South Africa, and then we beat them, and so the floodgates open. You know,
and when they come to Wales, no one's like even mentioned the fact that Wales may not win.
No,
do you know what I mean?
You look at New Zealand and Ireland. Yeah. You know, the sort of